I'll be right back.
We're live. Coming to you live from the Hellmouth Adjacent. It's a popular cinema podcast. I'm your co-host Payne,
Yo, I'm your co-host Bill.
and welcome to episode 84. I mispronounce a lot of words. I notice around. As we're doing this, I think I might have said Pedcast, podcast, paidcast.
You're like lazy mouth. You can make the words form properly. You just choose not to because it's too much work.
There's a lot of times I'm sitting around with Chris and I'll say something and then she'll look over and she'll be like, "Breath." She goes, "That's not. It's not breath."
Please tell me you just don't say the word ax when you say ask, because that's the one I just can't forgive. I just can't forgive that one.
I don't say that, but I say a lot of things, and maybe lazy mouth is a term, and she'll correct it. And part of it is she's kind of looking at me like, maybe it's better I didn't have children with you because that seems to be a little bit. It seems to be a little bit shaky over there. I'm like, it's the
No,
Youngstown in me. It's the Youngstown.
yeah, the thing about it is that you're educated and you know the proper pronunciation for things. I know that you do, but I think sometimes your mouth, you physically doesn't want to do them, like make the right sound. So you just go with it and just make the sounds that are closest to what you want it to
Yeah,
be.
it's like a shortcut.
Right,
Yeah,
it's like a shortcut, even though you mentally know better. It's better than being like totally ignorant where you don't even know what the fuck you're saying.
See,
That
this
would
is
be
why
unforgivable.
this is why you have to have good family and friends because I'm telling you, like my grandmother, you know, she would talk. Now I understood everything she was saying out of her mouth, but it was almost like having some sort of like she was speaking Klingon to certain people would come in that maybe
I've
we
spoken to
couldn't.
your grandmother. I always thought she was a very well-spoken woman. I don't recall
Well,
anything.
you know what she is, but sometimes she would say some things, and the people look at her like she had three heads. She'd be like this, you know what? You need these. And personally, like, I'm sorry, Miss Davis, could you say that? I'm like this. She just asked you to please, can you vacuum the living room rug or whatever else? But sometimes people cannot. You're raised with them, so if they take shortcuts, you can hear, you understand where they're going with it. I
Right,
don't know. You
right,
fill in the gaps. You fill in the
right.
gaps.
You're
I,
like Mushmouth from Fat Albert when he was like, the guy with the holes in his hat who'd be like, "Abba deeba dooba daba dooba deeba daba."
but, but did everybody understand him on Fat Albert? Didn't they all
They
understand him?
understood him, but the audience didn't understand what he's saying in real life. But everybody on the show understood. See, that's the inside joke: is that if you live there,
So we're 84 episodes into this podcast. Do you think that the people, when I sit here, be like, I don't know, his breath and his accent will be some questions? You think they understood exactly what I was saying while they're
I
driving in the
think I
vehicle?
think it's exactly like I said. I think the people who know you know that you know better, and you're just lazy mouth. So I
Uh,
think that's the real issue. Now the poor viewers or poor listeners who don't know you might be like, "What the fuck?"
what the fuck? What is this? I can't understand anything he is saying. I can't understand
My
anything he.
favorite is when you call Taika Waititi, when you be like, Tika Wahiti, Wahiti Wasiti. It's Taika Waititi, fucker.
Chitwell Etafor?
Yeah,
Is it Chitwell? Is that right? Chitwell?
yeah, Chitlins,
Chitlins?
a deal.
Whatever. You know what it is. I mean,
Oh God,
how are you? How was your weekend?
it was fine. I didn't really do much. Last night we watched some Tyler Perry, so we got our black on,
Oh,
and
which one?
then the haves and the have-nots is the only one we can take. The rest of them, and
Oh,
to be
so
honest,
you're not talking real Tyler Perry. You're not talking
no, not
like
the movies, but it's actually written, produced, directed, and also filmed by Tyler Perry. Every episode, he writes the whole show. So it is actually Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry. It's just not a Tyler Perry movie.
just as a segue. Superfan Carlos called me last night, and he was hanging with his girl, and he was like, "We watched everything on Netflix possible." You have
That's not possible.
any? You have. He gave it. I'm sidetracking you. I want to get back to you, but he goes, "I need some recommendations." He goes because right now she wants to watch some Tyler Perry movie, and he goes, "I just can't." He goes, I can't watch this," and I'm like, "Wow." I go, "I hear you." So I gave him a couple options, and he actually went with one of them. But
Which was
Friends from college.
Oh yeah, tell them just not to get too invested.
Well, they apparently binge watched the whole first season and the half of the second season.
They might want to pace themselves on that one because there's no season 3.
Well, then he called me and he goes, I think we only got about maybe 4 more to go or 5 more. I go, well, there's no season 3, so it's going to end on a cliffhanger. Good luck with it. He goes, no season. I go, yeah. So I don't want to tell you ahead of time because that might ruin the whole if you got into it.
Well, sometimes maybe it's not so bad that some of these shows just don't go on for like years and years and years. Like Modern Family, look, I was a fan of it when it first started like 11 years ago. It was a funny show. It was well written, entertaining. And now in season like 11, and I think they have like one more season to go, it's just that perfect example of where they have just run the well dry. It's not funny anymore. I don't crack a smile at anything they do on the show, and I just think to myself, my brain is rotting while I'm watching this. Sometimes it's not so bad if these shows end before they've overstayed their welcome, I think.
That's terrible. Well, then you know what it is. Then maybe there's a sweet spot between 5 or 7 seasons. Then maybe that's where it should end.
Yeah, I would say
certain
around 3 or 4 seasons was when Modern Family stopped. This happens to me a lot, though. Like the shows that you really like first. I mean, it's only not happened to me a few times out of TV shows that I've loved all the way through. But in the majority of cases, when I watch TV shows, like by the 3rd or 4th season, it's time for them to go. This is exactly how I feel like with Gotham right now. We have like 3 episodes of Gotham left, and it's a fucking chore to sit through because it's so fucking dumb anymore. I just can't. And I'm like, I can't. This show cannot end fast enough for me.
What show is that?
Gotham.
But do they have the same writers?
I don't know. I don't
okay, I'd be curious, like with those shows that go that route, if they keep the same people. Otherwise, I would assume there would be some sort of consistency in the story and everything else that you like from the first season on to the 4th season.
But also, if you have 5 seasons of a show that has 22 episodes apiece, which is what most network shows have, I mean, think about that. That's like 100 and something episodes. Okay, by 100 episodes, I think you've kind of tapped out the potential for just about every situation to have happened to all the characters. And when that happens, you just kind of start spinning your wheels.
Yeah, I feel like that's the Walking Dead problem. But anyway, so I was talking to him and about how he was enjoying it. He goes, I didn't turn on Tyler Perry. He goes, I just turned it on for 5 minutes. And he goes, just give it a shot. Just give it 5 minutes.
Right.
And he goes, luckily, she got hooked within the first 5 minutes. And so he was able to push through. But I'm like, I go, what do you mean you watched everything? I go, there's 1,000 shows on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a shrine at my house built to Netflix. Okay. So, I mean,
there's a big N over your door.
This is a Netflix household. Don't come up in here with some other shit wearing. Don't come up in here with your future. Anyway, so he corrected me and pointed out that just because they have 1,000 shows, if you have a significant other, it's kind of almost like there is only a certain amount of shows that both your interests might intersect. Sure. So you almost have to cut those 1,000 shows down to like 10.
Really?
I mean,
like a lot.
Well, I don't know. It's true because there's a lot of shows on there, and I've been watching Van Helsing, which is like a guilty pleasure right now. But I wouldn't dare turn that on. Well, I'm there's like 4 seasons. I'm kind of on the 2nd season.
Okay.
It's kind of dragging, but it's a guilty pleasure right now.
You know why you love Netflix so much? Because you are a content whore. That's what you are. You're a content whore. As long as there's like a million choices for you to have, you are happy. It doesn't matter if the choices are good. It doesn't matter if they're actually worthy of your time. You'll sit there and watch it because it's on your service.
I feel secure. It's like having access to the Library of Congress. Everything's available to me. I don't need to read everything, but I like having it available just in case I might want to go down that road. I don't know.
Can I tell you the one thing I watch on Netflix consistently and that I'm thrilled to death that it's like, and I feel like it's worth the price of Netflix that I'm not paying, is Glee. Like to have access to every episode of Glee without having to get up and put a Blu-ray in, that's worth the price of it alone for me.
Oh. So you're not doing that while you're having your Glee-a-thon. You're not getting up, putting the disc in.
It depends. Like if I feel like getting like the full 1080p Glee experience. Like if it's a season I'm particularly happy with, I will go up and put the Blu-rays in. But if I'm like it's like a weeknight and I'm just like, oh, I just don't feel like putting those discs in, I'll just fire up the Netflix and every episode of Glee is on there.
You
So
remember that? You remember that day when you came into my old place, the old Hellmouth, and we were watching some show, and you looked at me and goes, "Is this standard definition?"
yes, I do remember that.
It was almost as somehow if I served you some sort of like a spam instead of steak or something. You were just like, "Oh no, I can't do standard definition." I think we had to turn it off because you said I can't do standard definition.
Yes, because it was all blurry and fuzzy, and there was just a little box in the center of the screen. It was just, oh, standard def. What is this, like 1990?
And I realized that I had access to high definition, but instinctively I just set the DVR to record things on standard, and I just still
Yeah,
watched
because
it.
you
I
just
didn't
didn't
really.
care. Because why? You're a content whore. It doesn't, the quality doesn't matter as long as the content is abundant.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you watch stuff on your phone for Christ's sake. It's a like 7-inch phone. I can't even see that close. It's tiny. But you'll watch entire episodes or movies on that thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So you were watching the Have and the Have Nots. You polished
We
off
were.
anything else?
What did we watch? What else did we watch? Oh, the RuPaul's Drag Race. So
Oh,
that was
okay.
our night last night.
What do you got planned for tonight?
Tonight is Gotham and Daredevil because we still have like 4 episodes of Daredevil to get through. Again,
Oh,
these shows that I just can't wait till they're over.
how's the
Um,
Kingpin doing? Vincent D'Onofrio.
I mean, he's pretty cool. I mean, he was pretty cool in the first season. I like him. I mean, the bottom line is it's not a crime drama. It's a superhero show, but you'd never know it if you just watched the show. There was no Marvel logo, you would not know.
Is Daredevil still like not wearing a costume and being a
Yeah,
bad
he's
guy?
wearing his
Or
black ragamuffin costume from the season 1.
okay, is Elektra back or is she gone?
No, she's not back yet. I don't know if she's coming back, but she's not back yet.
Are you enjoying the show?
Not really. To be quite honest with you, like I said, I can't wait till it's over with. I'm
I
done.
saw that there was some news that the Punisher was canceled.
Yeah, they're all
Uh,
canceled.
they're all canceled. I don't know why that was really news. I thought for sure we all
Well,
knew
because
that.
they didn't announce it until after they announced the other ones. Like they announced like Luke Cage and Daredevil at the same time, but they never mentioned anything about
So
Punisher.
that's really like just kicking you when you're down when everybody already knows that you're not long for this
Right.
world.
But I
anymore.
imagine that they don't want to turn off potential viewers by saying, well, this is the last chapter before this chapter even airs. But as soon as it was over, they were like, canceled. So,
Well, okay.
and then they canceled Jessica Jones at the same time, which hasn't even aired yet. So,
We finished watching this weekend. We're really into crime dramas over at this house. We do a lot of
yeah, I know.
Dateline, 2020, Snapped. That's like a constant feed for us. And then,
Leaving Neverland.
yeah, we finished Leaving Neverland. So it's clear that Michael Jackson is guilty.
I mean, I can't. I just can't handle it. I can't handle it. I'm not
It's
watching.
so I think Superfan Carlos gives it the documentary his highest recommendation, like for an award. I don't know if I give the documentary an award. I wish it actually encompassed more than just a couple accusers, and but it's interesting. It's very it kind of draws you in a little bit. So we finished that.
Yeah, Paris
Um,
loved it.
oh yeah, apparently. The thing about it is, it's just I don't know. Once again, we can talk about this off air. I just don't I just don't get it with the parents. I mean, you don't have children, and neither do I. But I think Superfan Carlos, has children, and he was sitting there going, like, "What if Aria Grande came to me and said, you know what? I can make your daughter a star. She just needs to stay with me for a week. I'm going to teach her some new moves, and I'm going to introduce her to some people." You might be like, "Yeah, it's Aria Grande. Why not?" I just don't know. Are the sessions all in the bedroom? Why do the sessions have to be in the bedroom? Can't they
I
be in the
can't.
living
I
room?
can't. I can't.
Okay, moving on. So there's also the disappearance of Madeline McCain. I think that's her name.
That's your
I
next
think,
one.
yeah, I think that's on. Yeah, that's going to be high up there. And we finished that. And what else? There was some other show. I don't know. I can't remember now. But you're excited. I guess there's a lot of news out there.
There's quite a bit actually compared to
Okay,
what
well, I'm
people
gonna,
examine.
to our fans out there, Bill was out there, you know, pulling shit together. You don't normally do that.
I do. It just so happens that there's not often this many stories within a
I
2 week period.
I know. Okay. Can we start off with the Star Wars news? I like it when you
Yeah.
talk about the Star Wars. What's going on?
So Celebration Chicago is next month, April 12th to the 15th.
Okay.
So that's the yearly, well, semi-yearly Star Wars fan convention. And this year there's a movie year, as people may have forgotten because it's been so long since the last chapter, and it's going to be even longer for the next one. But Star Wars Episode 9 comes out in December of this year, so they're going to be having a big panel at the Star Wars Fan Convention featuring J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy.
Okay.
And they have announced that they're probably going to release the title and have a trailer for the first trailer for the movie at that convention. So that should be about another month or so before we get our first peek at Episode 9.
So that's the next month.
That's next month, about a month
Okay.
from now.
All right. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Um, any rumors as to what the name will be? Anything like that?
I've heard the is it the balance of the force was the rumor is one of them. Um, the new Jedi was another one, but it's all it's all conjecture. No one knows what the hell it's
You know,
doing.
I look forward to watching that trailer. I look forward to watching
Yeah,
that.
me
That's kind
too.
of exciting. April's going to be a good month for entertainment.
It is.
Um, so what's the deal with Mark Ruffalo? He doesn't
Well,
like
the
playing the
rumor
Hulk.
is
He doesn't like the money.
no, he likes the money, but I mean, we've heard Phase 4 bandied about as far as like we know we're getting Black Widow next year. We know we're getting the Eternals. We know Doctor Strange 2 has been greenlit. We know Black Panther 2 has been greenlit. But outside of those four movies that are kind of obvious, there's been no talk of like any further adventures featuring the original Avengers besides Black Widow. So it's not really a shock that Hulk might be taking a what do you want to say sabbatical or whatever from the movie world, and supposedly Mark Ruffalo's contract is done, so he might be joining the Chris's.
So it's
Kevin,
not to say that he's not down with doing the role, but they just don't necessarily have a space for him just yet in the world that they're building.
right? They've kind of said that they had planned an arc for him between Thor Ragnarok, Avengers, Infinity War, and the final arc of that storyline will come in Endgame. And after that, there's really no future plans to feature him in anything. So,
So are we really headed to the route? Can I expect with Endgame that they're going to really be closing down these big stars and characters? I mean,
we don't know everything that they have up their sleeves because they've been very tight lipped about it because they don't want to get ahead of themselves and they feel like having announced a lot of these titles that we're just now getting with Captain Marvel and
it
all of
spoils it
that.
for everybody
It
else.
spoils it, and it also makes it seem like um, they're giving away the cart before the horse. They don't want people to like get less excited about certain properties if they're featuring.
You know,
They're just
it,
waiting. They're in a holding pattern for the next big one.
Bill, in this day and age, I would like to believe that would be very thoughtful and would hope that would be the case. Because there's nothing worse than knowing that Spider-Man Homecoming is coming out when you already know that Spider-Man was,
Killed in
turned to
Infinity
dust. Yeah,
Far From Home,
and
right?
right, or you got Captain America: The Return on the slate. You're just like, okay, well, it looks like they beat the bad guy because he's got a movie coming out again. I mean,
Right.
it's is it possible that they have contracts and we just don't know about it?
It is
To extend,
possible. It is possible that they have secret plans that we don't know anything about. But from what they've already told us or what they've announced or put in production, we don't. And they might, like you said, they might have plans for these characters. There might be Captain America 4 somewhere down the line that we just don't know about, but they haven't said anything. So the big question mark after Endgame is what happens to all of these characters, because the only one we know that we'll see again post Endgame is Spider-Man, Black Panther, Black Widow, and the Eternals, which is a whole new team of people we don't know anything about. Guardians 3 is going to happen, so obviously they're not going to have a whole new roster for that, because the other big news this week, segue, perfect, is James Gunn has been rehired by Disney to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3 after all.
James Gunn is back?
He's back, bitches.
I knew you were going to say that. Melissa right now is going like this. Do you have to say the word bitches, Bill?
I do.
Honestly,
I actually
please.
do. So yeah, that's the big news that shook up the fanverse.
Yeah, so apparently Disney liked the fact that they loved the way that James Gunn handled the situation. They sit there and told him, we do not appreciate this. This is not the type of company that Disney is or wants to project. So we're going to fire you and remove you from our oeuvre. And James Gunn was like, I understand. Mea culpa.
That's so funny. I was thinking that exact same thing a second ago.
Oh, okay. And so he sat there and goes, I understand. I'm going to go and try to do better. And got hired over at DC and was going to do some stuff. And he never said a bad word, it looks like. And
yes, let Kevin Hart take note. This is how you issue an apology and get your job back. You don't double down and stick your head in the mud and refuse to move and refuse to acknowledge any responsibility. You say, I fucked up. I'm sorry. Guess who's getting their job back and who isn't?
Yeah, there's something to say about that. I understand where Kevin Hart was coming from, but I kind of agree with you. I guess you could tell that to President Dum Dum sometimes. But okay, moving on. Moving on. Losing more fans as we speak. Okay. But yeah, so that's very interesting, because this is one of those things where you see like the company say this and you're just like, well, this is going to be a shit show here for Guardians 3. And I guess partly is you can take a I don't know what you want to call a Pollyannic view of like, oh wow, he apologized or everything else, but money does have to come into play into this, don't you think?
Of course. And
because they were never getting rid of the script. They were like, you're out, but we're keeping your script.
Right. And the thing about it is, it's a win for the fans. It's a win for the company. It's, it's a win for people that may have said some things in the past that could get them in trouble in the current political climate. But perhaps if you play it right, and you throw yourself on your sword and you do the mea culpa thing, perhaps there is a future or for forgiveness. And maybe this is a lesson that some of the people in the Me Too movement who've done bad things in the past can learn, that if you are contrite and believable in your regret, then maybe, you can get a future after all.
I mean, it's not like somehow James Gunn would actually like to physically assaulted somebody. He made a bunch of crass jokes, if I recall.
Yeah, it was, but in the current political climate we're in, we all know that this is just not acceptable in today's world.
Very, very true. Very true. Okay, well that's good. Then. I mean, did all his actors, Chris Pratt's to the Batistas, that they all write back and say, "Oh, this is glorious, glorious, glorious"?
I haven't really read any reactions, but one can imagine it and infer. I remember this is the cast that wrote that letter, and they published it in Variety, talking about how they had a wonderful experience working with James Gunn, and that even though he's done some bad things, they would always want to work with him in the future. So,
now, what is it, Alan Horn? What's his position at Disney? Is he one of those
CEO, chief big shit in charge?
Big shit in charge. This has been going on for months behind the scenes. Apparently, this is just not some sort of like, okay, we've been talking for a week. They've been
supposedly this has been the plan all along, that he was going to go on an apology tour. And that once the apology tour was over, if it went over well with the public, which it did, then they would consider hiring him back. And obviously they did that.
Oh, we're doing test balloons now. Let's see if the people are okay with us bringing you back. Okay, the vitriol and everything else has died down. The mob has moved on. The mob has moved someplace else now. We can bring you back.
It's like you said, it's not one of those unforgivable things where he was diddling like 5-year-olds.
Yeah. So is James Gunn going to still be directing Suicide Squad?
He is. So now Guardians will not happen until after Suicide Squad is done. So there'll be some
Okay.
delay because it does. I don't think Suicide Squad starts filming until this summer, maybe fall. I think
Okay, and that movie is going to be a complete reboot now.
this is what they're saying. It's going to be, the producer this week said, it's going to be a complete reboot of the team. Now, that means Will Smith obviously has been replaced by Idris Elba. Um,
Don't say
some other
obviously.
people
I
aren't
don't
going to
think
be.
we've mentioned that news yet. So
Yeah,
Will Smith is out, and
Will Smith
Idris
is out.
Elba is
Idris
in.
Elba's in, so that will help. You know, I guess differentiate the films. Um, I,
But
I don't know.
Margot Robbie is obviously
Well,
still in.
that's the thing. It can't be a complete 100% reboot. If Margot Robbie's in it, she's still playing the character she was playing in the first one.
And
So
Viola Davis is going to be playing Amanda Walter, right?
right. So when they say 100% complete reboot, I think they more mean like 85% reboot. So because there are certain actresses or actors that are coming back, but I can see that they're trying. This is why they say they didn't call it Suicide Squad 2, but the Suicide Squad, because they're, and I'll tell you this. This is really where I'm at with this in the bigger picture of things. This is just one more nail in the coffin for the DCEU, which I'm sad to see go. I've said this before, but they keep saying, we're still doing the DCEU. No, they're not. They're not. This, along with the comments of Wonder Woman being a complete standalone movie and it's more like a James Bond sequel than a conventional movie sequel, every comment they make and every project they greenlight is more and more and more moving towards what we knew as the DCU being kaput. And I'm getting a little bit frustrated with trying to maintain enthusiasm for this non-universe that they're creating. This, and here in the bigger scheme of it, it's just going to make it somewhat easier for me, having not all the films be connected in any way, to pick and choose which of their properties I want to invest in and which ones I don't give a shit about. Because if they're not all connected in some way, then I don't have to see them all, like I did with the Marvel Universe. Like the Joker, I don't have to see that because it's not going to have anything to do with anything else. And I think the whole idea is stupid anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, um, Birds of Prey. I mean, if it's just going to be a standalone Birds of Prey, I don't see why I need to see that either. So it helps me to like say I can be pickier and choosier with which of their properties I really give a shit about.
I guess so. Which is the whole point, that they're missing out on maximizing their potential and their growth and their need for additional monies. Because not having them all connect up like that, you're missing about creating this sort of crack epidemic of, once you eat one, you got to eat the next one and the next one right afterwards and afterwards. They don't have that now. So if you
Yeah,
miss
but
one, who cares?
the ones that aren't as connected as the ones that were connected are the ones that keep making them more and more money. I mean, Aquaman made over $1 billion. Aquaman, really? Aquaman, which doesn't have has one reference to Justice League, and if you blink, you will miss it.
Well, let's just see, because this is them starting off on this path here. You
Right.
know, you still have the fantastical, maniacal, supercalifragilistic Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey coming. You have the Joker. All these things you still have to. They have to have some of these lesser known properties outside of Aquaman. See if they fly. If they don't, I just don't see this as being a long-term solution, even though they've had success with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. I don't know. And right now that I see the tracking for, what is it, Shazam comes out. What else comes out? Pet Cemetery and Shazam. And
Is
I
it the
think
same
actually,
weekend?
what's that?
Is it they're coming out the same weekend?
I believe, I don't know, and I
Shazam is
guess
April 5th, but I know Pet Cemetery is around the corner, so they're close, if not on the same weekend.
and I think Pet Cemetery is tracking or making more money than Shazam. And Shazam is looking like it's going to be opening up as one of the lower DC films, but still making some money, not like a tank job. So it'll be curious.
Well, it's also lower costing. There's lower star wattage in it. Like my husband came in the room the other day. He was on the phone with his mom, and she was like asking about Shazam, And he's like, Bill, who's playing Shazam? And I said, Zachary Levi. He's like, who?
Who?
So you know, I
No,
think
so
it's a
it
moment
doesn't
where
have to jump over the moon in order to be successful for them. Then is what you're saying.
it doesn't have to be Justice League.
I guess anything that makes them money and keeps them in a positive light is great.
Well, you know, honestly, the reviews for Shazam are, and this is 50% as we know of the battle. The other 50% is the box office, but the reviews are through the roof, and so they've gotten more positive response to this than they've gotten to either Batman versus Superman or Justice League, just in the critical world. Now that doesn't necessarily translate to box office, but it doesn't hurt either.
As superfan Carlos said to me, I don't want to have to encourage this because I don't want more of this. So I can't have Shazam succeed. I just can't. I can't.
Really? So you're just gonna diss the movie because you just don't want there to be more of these types of tones.
Oh yeah, I'm dissing it indeed. So
what's going? So go ahead.
I'm going to segue since we're still in this DC kick here. You might as well start talking about. I see that there's some sort of issues still over at DC with the Flash movie. Like
that's exactly where I was going.
And whether or not there seems to be two different chefs in the kitchen, and one chef wants to do it one way, and another chef. It's like Top Chef over there.
Apparently, the Warner Brothers brass wants to go in a lighter tone direction, a la Shazam, with their script for The Flash that's already been written. However, Ezra Miller, the star, wants there to be a darker, more Darkness No Parents tone to it. So he's commissioned a rewrite, and now there are studios allowing this. I don't know why, but they're allowing him to do a rewrite with the influence and partnership of comic writer Grant Morrison, who is pretty famous in the comic book world.
Sure.
So then they're going to look at both scripts once the Ezra Miller version's completed and the Grant Morrison version is completed, and they're going to compare it to the one they have, which is the comedy lighter toned one, and decide which one to move forward with. The rumor is that if Ezra doesn't get his way, and then he's going to walk, a la Ben Affleck writing the Batman script.
That's okay. We've got somebody else to replace you, Ezra. There's a lot of other people out there we can do. Freddie Prinze is right here on the phone right now saying he'd love to play Flash.
Really?
So let me get this straight here. I'm going to sum it up for you. We have our script, and if Shazam makes like $350 million, they're going to be like this. Yeah, Ezra, in the garbage. We're going with the funny humor stuff right now. The Darkness No Parents. Oh, I would love for that to happen with Flash, with teaming up with Grant Morrison. I don't see them going that route. It seems almost like they're just kind of throwing him a bone by even having to let him do the rewrite.
They might be just throwing.
You know, if our Flash fails, then we'll just keep your script and reboot it later on and try it that way again. So thanks. It's a win-win for them eventually.
I think if they play it right and they can make the Flash be the impetus or the gateway into the multiverse of DC, to use it as maybe a flashpoint storyline to explain how they've gotten a whole new Batman from the one they just explored in their universe. Again, this is more pointing towards them running away from Justice League.
Yeah,
universe.
What's interesting about it is when they say Darkness No Parents a little bit for the Flash, I don't know if that's just the storyline itself and the character is still, funny, fun-loving, witty, the type of character that we know Barry Allen to be normally in animated and comic books. So it seems like that would, to say that it's going to be humorous would fit the tone of the character. But it'd be great if the story was darker, but you still kept the character, witty. But now, I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know where I'm going with it.
I want them to use whatever vehicle they need to use in order to make the universe, if it's going to be a rebooted universe, fine. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'd rather have that than just all these standalone movies that have nothing to do with each other.
The thing about it is, when do they have the Flash set to start filming? Do they ever have a date?
It's supposed to be starting this fall.
See, I would hold off on this. It's easy for me to say that without knowing their schedule. I would wait for these other properties to start to come out and then see how it goes. If they start to change their brand a little bit, where people are starting to enjoy some of their work, their Wonder Woman, their Aquaman 2s, whatever, Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad, you can always use the Flash to come in and then reboot the world and then bring everything back into it. You know, you're almost kind of like starting over softly, but to kind of, I don't know. It
Like a
seems,
soft reboot, yeah.
yeah, he's the perfect character for that.
Well, it's the one
Uh,
that could actually explain it so that you don't totally disassociate the universe concept from the one you just established over 3 or 4 films 5 minutes ago, and yet still allow people who didn't enjoy those particular films access to that universe concept. I think it would be smart of them to use it as a soft reboot or the Flash because it's already been established that it's part of the comic lore that Flashpoint can change certain elements of a story or certain characters and not others. So you discard the ones that didn't work or aren't returning and you keep the ones that are that worked. I don't know. I would like, first of all, I don't like any of this, but I would prefer that to everybody's in their own little universe and nothing's connected to anything else. I don't like that.
Okay. Are you cool with Idris Elba being cast in Suicide Squad?
I'm cool with Idris Elba being cast in anything in a comic book movie. I think Idris Elba's genius, and I think he's one of our better, younger men of color leading men right now, and I think he can do it all. He's like Action Jackson.
He's doing a lot of work now. It seems like he's in everything. He's got some Netflix crap on there where he plays a DJ. I watched the trailer for it. It was unwatchable for me. So I'm not
Even with Idris. Yeah, you could watch Idris with a phone book and you'd still be entertained.
When you say sometimes Netflix has trash, it seems like one of the trash series. I can't invest several episodes into this, so it seems unwatchable. He's essentially playing like a nanny to some kid. It's not good. But he's in everything right now.
Try an episode before you decide.
We're not doing that.
Okay.
I'll send you the trailer later on. So, are we going to be getting? I mean, I don't want to have to segue back into Marvel, but it's on my list, and I meant to say it because when you started talking about the list of Marvel movies that are to be released, you didn't put in Shang-Chi.
Oh, did I forget Shang-Chi?
Yes.
So
when you were talking about the 4 things that were on the slate, you forgot that one.
I did. Oops.
Okay. Was that subconsciously? Because they hired a director for it, if I recall.
Yeah. Some nobody from nowhere.
Yeah, he did the Glass Castle movie starring Woody Harrelson. I watched that movie, actually. It wasn't very good. The story is based on a book that apparently is very popular about some sort of family that sort of lives off the grid. And, their children go on to be something, and the parents judge them for being successful instead of just kind of living off the woods, off of berries. That's sort of a rough draft of it. I saw it. The movie could have been a lot more gripping, I thought. It just kind of played it paint by the numbers. But this is how I know the director. I think it's like Dominic something.
He's got like 3 names.
3 names, whatever it is. That's the respect that we give on Popular Cinema Podcast. We can't even just Google it and look up his name. Either way, he's got the director's chair for Shang-Chi.
First of all, before they announced the movie Shang-Chi, I never heard of a character named Shang-Chi. Now, I grew up in the 70s with the Super Friends, and I knew Apache Chief, even though he was kind of made up for the TV cartoon.
So
and what was the one, the Chinese guy with the Fu Manchu mustache?
He had the tornado.
The tornado. What was it, like Blue Tornado or something?
It wasn't Blue Tornado, but it was. I'll try to find it. But yes, he was the
chicken fried whatever.
That's okay. That's completely racist right there. Okay, that's.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
I mean, it was a very eclectic Super Friends back then. It was Samurai. That was his name.
Samurai, right?
How original. How
But
original.
all I'm saying is, I don't
You
know.
had Samurai, Apache Chief, El
El
Dorado,
Dorado, remember him?
and Black Vulcan. See,
Right.
this is a time. This is a time back then where you're just like this. What do you look like? You look like you've got some sort of big lips. We're just going to call you Big Lip Betty. Okay, I mean that's what it was. It was
Listen,
very superficial.
they
That's
had,
what- that's
you know
a different
what?
time.
There
Can
was-
you
it was
imagine them coming out going, your character's name is Samurai? You could just see the people rolling their eyes right now, groaning. Like,
Jay,
okay.
the Indians guy name was Apache Chief.
I know. It's a different time back then.
Okay, but you still have to make the argument that even if it was somewhat cliche or reductive, stereotypical, whatever, it was still representation. It wasn't like they didn't have any effort to have people of color or people of different ethnicities in there. They did. Okay, so they named the guy Taco Chips. I mean, what do you want? It was the 70s.
Come on. Yeah. So anyway, I've heard of Shang-Chi. I actually had a few comic books of him when I collected comic books. In fact, I had one of his covers I remember distinctly back when I was living with my back in like the 3rd grade. The thing about his character though, what I recall is he didn't really have any superpowers. He was just good at martial arts. He was
See, this is what I don't want.
he was essentially Bruce Lee. Now I know they've kind of revamped him a little bit to where now he can make duplicates of himself, and I'm sure he probably has, and he's a superb martial artist, I guess. But he was not necessarily one of the most popular characters, but I remember him because part of it is you needed really superpowers. That was the whole idea.
I don't need it to be kung fu only. I need it to be something cinematically worthy of my.
Well, if he can duplicate himself, come on.
Okay, that's fine, but that's still kind of a lesser power, I would say. I mean, some of the cool shit that can be done, I don't know if duplicating yourself, which was done in like the X-Men Last Stand like 15 years ago. I don't know if that's going to be cinematically exciting in this day and age when they've got all these characters that can shoot photon beams out of their hands and, do all kinds of kooky shit. I get it. I know they're pushing, this is along with the Eternals lead guy being gay. I can appreciate it on a level. All I really want is for it to be cinematic. I need it to be something that's worthy of my $15 sitting in the Dolby Cinema 4D chair or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Outside of being a superb practitioner of Kung Fu, he's also, his powers have gone through a lot of revamps, but currently right now he has demonstrated the ability to dodge bullets from machine guns and sniper rifles, and he's able to deflect gunshots with his bracers. He's also highly trained in the arts of concentration and meditation.
Oh boy, it sounds Doctor Strangey.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Not the most exciting of characters. That's all I'm gonna say.
Apparently he was exposed to cosmic radiation, and that's what's given him the ability to create multiple duplicates of himself. All you need is cosmic radiation. That solves everything. It gets you all. Right. I mean, as a little child, if you told me there was some sort of meteorite that fell out in the backyard and people say stay away from it, I'm like this. No, there's probably got some cosmic radiation and I'm gonna get some sort of superpower. I'm gonna go touch that thing, and
it's the Deus Ex Machina. It's the perfect solution to these ridiculous scenarios. Like, how did Captain Marvel shoot shit from her hands? Oh, she's got the power of the Tesseract. Problem solved. Because now, and apparently every Infinity Stone not only can do what it's called after to do, like the Mind Stone or the Space Stone or the Time Stone can all fuck with those elements, but they also have like undescribable and very ambiguous like beam power, cosmic ray power. I mean, it's just like you can shoot the Time Stone powers from your wrist, even though it's really only supposed to make time change. But there's also some kind of element of like just generalized power in them. Yeah. Look, I'm not trying to pick apart the MCU. I'm just finding it like some of these things are a little funny.
Director's name is Destin Daniel Cretton.
That doesn't sound Chinese. And he is Chinese. I've seen him.
Okay, so he's born in Hawaii, but okay, yes, he he obviously is ethnic looking, and of course, if you're going to be directing something, if you're going to be doing some sort of what is it, Australia movie, then you have to have somebody from Australia direct it. But okay, whatever. So I'm not going to doubt Marvel until their shit comes crashing down. I think that's just the
Oh,
way it
it'll
is.
happen one of these days. One of these movies that they release is going to be like, it's going to tank at some
Now,
point.
this is going to be the leaving Neverland moment for that director because right now, all this shit, Captain Marvel's made $500 million, despite all the trolls and everything else looking like this. I don't know. This looks just like a standard Marvel formula. It's making tons of cash. Woe to the director that sits there and breaks the streak. I mean, that's a lot of pressure now. That's a lot of
Well,
pressure.
it is. You don't want to be the one.
All our movies have been made at least $700 million. Ant-Man Wasp 2, Captain Marvel. You're next, Shang-Chi. Oh shit.
I mean,
Don't fail.
the level of success that they've reached is only going to be matched by the level of vitriol and anger and betrayal that feeling people are going to have once they do fall. I mean, they've risen meteorically. They're going to fall meteorically, and it's going to be bad.
Okay.
It's going to be bad because there's not going to be any director in the history of Hollywood that's tanked a franchise as successful as this with a failure. 22 films, 23 by the time it gets to Endgame.
Oh, that sounds. It does sound like a lot of pressure.
That is a lot of pressure.
Especially after every time we keep looking at it, going, "Oh, this is the movie that's going to tank. This movie right here is not going to make their money." Wrong. Wrong again.
Right. But
Wrong.
we all know it's coming. At some point, they're going to make a misstep and fall out of sync with the American populace and what they want. And when that happens, it's going to be a disaster.
Okay, so we've had a final trailer come out for Avengers Endgame. Before we get to the trailer and you lathering yourself and getting all excited to talk about, I'm going to put you in a minute restriction because I'm not.
You mean like how you get about Netflix when I say the word Netflix and
Oh.
like blood curdling? Yeah, yeah, that.
Easy access.
Netflix. Oh, I love Netflix. Okay.
So the poster. There was a poster debacle with the Avengers Endgame. What's going on with the poster?
So Danaya Guerrera, who is more famous probably, or as famous probably for playing Michonne on The Walking Dead, plays one of the Dora Milaje. I believe it. What is her name?
Dora Milaje.
Yeah, no, that's their populace. That's
I
their.
know there. Yeah, I would have mispronounced all those words. Dora
I'll just call it
Milaje,
Uribe, whatever her name.
Dana Guerrera, all that. I would have
Yeah.
mispronounced all that shit.
Anyway, this chick is on the poster because she's one of the survivors from the snapping in Infinity War.
Okay, sounds good so far. She made the poster. She should be very happy.
Right, but there's a masthead of actors at the top of the poster that lists all of the leads in the movie. The Hemsworths, the Evans,
The Downies,
the Downey
Scarlett
Jr.
Johanssons.
Right. Okay. And all of the characters' names that are on the poster are represented on the poster are on that masthead, except for Danai Guerrera's was left off.
They ever put Jeremy Renner's name on there?
Yes, they did.
And so they left her name off.
They did. And Twitter was not having it.
You can't upset the Twitter. You cannot upset the Twitter.
No, because in the same day, probably within an hour or two of the poster being released, they yanked it and replaced it with a version that included her name because the outcry was so loud. You know, because everybody said, why leave the black chick's name off?
Can I have that poster? Is that like a collector's item now?
I don't know if they actually produced it, physically produced it. Probably not, because it happened so quickly.
Because shit, we can market that shit to the alt-right. We could be like, we've got a poster with no black chick's name on it. That shit could be worth a lot of money to a certain segment of the population.
Oh my. Okay. So anyway, that was the big debacle this week. That Danai Guerrera's name was left off the masthead.
Okay, so they just said it was a mistake. Obviously, we didn't mean to leave her name off. That was
and they, in fact, but you know what? To their credit, they tweeted, we've made a horrible mistake. We neglected to put Danai Guerrera's name on the poster, and we've corrected it. They did that within hours.
Oh, these people are like they are out with claws sometimes. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah.
saw Mark walking on
You don't
eggshells.
want you don't want Twitter coming for you. You just don't want that because it's just terrible.
I mean, technically, if we had like, what is it? What's Lori Laughlin's daughter's name? If we had as many
Yeah.
followers as she had, they would have called your shit out a long time ago. I mean, there would have been like, it would have been on fire. I'd be like, Bill,
That
we need to do
that
episode 84.5 for your apology over there. Hi there, I'm Bill.
racist motherfucker. He's gotta go. They would have been at my house like, kill the beast. With the
Listen,
torches
if we get rid of him, we're gonna have to
inside.
listen to Mushmouth Pain. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. If he apologized, I'll get past it.
Right. So that was the big debacle.
Uh,
But then there's the actual trailer, which just kind of dropped without any expectation at all. I mean, I had no idea on Thursday morning it was coming out. And then the next thing you know, I fire up my Twitter because I'm like, oh, Twitter's boring today. Boring, 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 boring. Oh my God, the trailer! So that was kind of exciting. And the actual content of the trailer itself was pretty damn exciting. I mean, I don't know about you, but when they do the black and white with just the fleck of the red in certain parts of the trailer where they're doing the flashbacks of like the history of the Avengers, and they just have like the whole screen's black and white, and you just see like the red on Captain America's shield or the red in the American flag. It's just cool as fuck to me. That was just so fucking cool. I loved that. Did you like that?
I thought it was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And it is a tough thing for them to do because they're limited in what they're trying to show us to keep
Right.
us.
So half the
So-
trailer is flashbacks, because
Which is
they're
a great
not-
way to do it, though. I mean, we all know this, and they put it in a different form. I mean, they made something old new.
right, fresh
And-
and artistically interesting, a way of repurposing footage that people are going to complain about, but still making it new and different and cool.
Right, and get you further excited for it without spoiling anything.
Right, it
Which is-
gives you a little bit of like a refresher on just how far it is they've come in this universe they've built. So I love that aspect of it. The other thing I loved about it was just one little scene in there went by pretty quickly. You might have missed it if you blinked, but they had Rocket sitting on War Machine's shoulder with his gun and his goggles. And that's just like a pairing that whenever they put Rocket with somebody, I'm always just like, that's just so cool. Like when they did Rocket with Thor and Groot in Infinity War. It's just like I love these sort of like mixed up pairings that you don't really expect. But when you see them, it's like, why didn't I ever think how cool that could be? That was cool as fuck.
Speaking of that, I'm going to segue out of this real quick. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. We can go back to it, but Bradley Cooper, the voice of Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about, voice acting. I'm going to have to throw shade over there at your girl Gal Gadot over there for that Wreck-It Ralph.
Really?
Rex the
We're still
Internet.
on this?
I'm just saying, but speaking of voice acting, like if you would have told me when I listened to Rocket Raccoon that was Bradley Cooper, I wouldn't know. The voice is very unique to me, very different. But I just watched The Star Is Born 2 over the past week.
Oh, I thought you weren't going to watch that because you were like, oh, I just can't.
Yeah, I put it in the queue. It came. I watched it. I think superfan Carlos gave me a thumbs up. He called in the middle of it and said, "This shit's really good. You need to watch
Oh, you watched
this."
it too? Okay.
Yeah, he watched it, and then I think he said it's great. He's just like, I really buy into this, and and I can see where this might be going, but I'm still in it. And then, of course, it fell off the tracks for him, where he called me back later on and said it ended terribly for me. I didn't really care for it at the end. So, but I started watching it, and if the movie was 2 hours long, the first hour was very engaging. It was a nice little love story. I bought into it. I thought the acting was good. The second part, it just became very predictable for me, formulaic. You can see where it's going. And
It's the fifth
it
time they've
kinda
made this
stupid.
movie.
Yeah,
They can't have been that original.
yeah, I guess so. It hit all the beats it had to hit. But the original, not the original, but the initial love story between the two characters, I bought into it. I just didn't care for it. I could do without the singing. You know how I am. I just don't need there to be a lot of singing.
So it's probably not proper for me to mention Lady Gaga's appearance in general, right? That's like not cool.
Oh, you're on Superfan Melissa's last nerve now. You've gone to her last nerve. You're now going to
All right,
comment
I'm
on
not
the
going to say.
looks of Lady Gaga.
You're
You're
right.
going to be
Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say I'm not going to say anything. And
Hey, she plays all the other girls. She plays the ordinary girl around the corner, Bill. Isn't that
okay,
that's the allure? Is that the allure of,
I guess.
Brad,
Okay, I'll go with that.
Brad, Bradley Cooper plays the Richard Gere, it's Pretty Woman, I was just a nobody being a waitress, and then all of a sudden this guy comes in who's a star and he's interested in me. There you go. Isn't that
Okay.
the fantasy?
So, did you buy into the fantasy then? I mean, was the performances powerful enough to get you invested in the love story of these characters?
Absolutely. For the first hour.
What happened in the second hour that got you
The
out?
second hour, it just became totally ridiculous in terms of the setups, and things that were happening just weren't believable to me. Everything was just, I want to say it was just it followed paint by numbers. Like, I'm like, I know what's going to happen now. Spoiler alert, he's going to kill himself. So,
Is that true?
yeah, yeah.
I never
can-
saw this movie, so I don't know.
Yeah, you can see it, though. You can see it coming. And it's just kind of like, well,
Did he kill himself?
yeah, he did.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. I didn't know
What
that.
kind of love story is this?
That's the reason why I ended up watching it was because Superfan Carlos goes, man, it ends in a way that I didn't think it would end in.
Why did he
But
kill himself?
Because he was an alcoholic. It was like leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage. He's the aging rock
accidentally
star
Drink
that's
himself to death, or did he take a hammer to his own head and?
well, no, what he ended up doing was like at Lady Gaga's, whatever her name is, awards, because he's introduced her to the world and her star starts to shine and she wins an award at the Grammys. So he comes up on stage and he's like, "Hey baby, can I come up on stage with you?" And then he pisses himself on stage. And she's like, oh baby, let me take you in the back. And so they're like, listen, you need to go to rehab. Okay. So he goes to rehab and he has this come to Jesus meeting where he's just like, I got to apologize to all the bad things I've done to people. And he starts to go on the right path. And then the evil record executive shows up at his house one day where Lady Gaga just happens not to be home. And he has a talk with him and goes, by the way, you're a loser. And as long as you're with Lady Gaga, she'll never make it to the top because you're just like an albatross around her neck and you'll wear her down because that's what you are. You'll always be an alcoholic. So don't sell me this bad boy stuff. And then he takes the words from the sniveling shrimp and then he just sits there and thinks about it. And then when Lady Gaga goes out, he goes to the garage and presumably kills himself by like running some carbon monoxide in there.
Are you shitting me? What
in the story and end scene
story is this? What kind of crap? Look, I avoided this movie like the plague, and I had no idea it was this bad.
I'm surprised I didn't hear that he killed himself ahead of time. I mean, that would actually maybe put the disc higher up in my queue. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
What the fuck? That's like La La Land at the end when they, instead of getting back together, because they've been fucking making this a couple for the whole movie, they decide to just break up just because they don't think they'll make it. What? This is not why I go to movies, people. This is not.
Sometimes when they end like that, I find it to be like, oh, that's very, I don't know, emotional and it's dramatic and it didn't work out because, we all have things that just didn't work out at one point in time. So you're just like, oh, it doesn't work. And other times you're just like, I wish they would have got together. Like this kind of stinks and feel kind of cheated. In La La Land, I felt that way. Like it seemed kind of sucky to spend all this time with the people and not have them get together. For me, Star is Born, I don't know if I felt that way. I was down with their romance for the first hour, but then it started to get on my nerves afterwards.
Well, I can tell you right now, I am so happy that I never bothered to try to watch this movie because if I would have gotten through this whole love story of this movie and he would have killed himself at the end, I I'd be like that emoji that you sent me the other day with the furry animal throwing the phone down. Yeah, I'm over this.
I
That's
know.
ridiculous.
I had no idea it ended that way. I thought it was essentially, A Star is Born, she gets her shine on, and they make it together as a couple. That's why I assumed it was very predictable. I didn't know. It didn't make it better for me, by the way, with him dying. It didn't. That didn't shoot it up. So
Well, now that you've
anyway,
completely interrupted my flow about the Avengers trailer, let me just finish with the Captain America scene at the end, where it's sort of reminiscent of the one from Infinity War, where he's trying to hold back Thanos' glove, and he's
hmm
got like all the dirt on his face, and he's like shaking, and it's just like there's a super intense Captain America scene going on, and you just know how super intense it is because of the look on his face, but you don't really know what the circumstances of it are. But that just really got me at the end, and I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah.
how many times did you watch the trailer?
Oh, I don't know if I should say.
I've
Many
watched.
times.
I've watched it once.
Yeah, that's
Only,
just not right.
only
That's
once.
not right. No, I've watched it many times. I got up this morning. The first thing I plugged in was that. So
When does the Avengers Endgame movie drop?
April 26th, which also means it's a Thursday night premiere, which means I need you to clear your schedule for Friday the 26th because we're going to the Thursday show.
I know. I've already had my woman look at me cross-eyed, going Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah,
going to the Thursday night show. First
yeah,
showing we can get to, that's the one we're going to.
yeah, yeah. So then we're going. I don't know if I can do the whole weekend. I don't know if I can make it till Sunday, Bill.
Well,
I need to keep my household in order, man. My
it's
woman's,
fine. Whatever you got to do.
we may have to, instead of having the 3 day, we'll move it up. Instead of me leaving on Sunday, I may have to leave on Saturday. That's the only way it might. I got to keep my home happy, man. I got to keep my home happy.
Here's how you keep your home happy. You tell the bitch what you're
We're-
doing,
we're-
and then she just nods her head and says yes. That's how I run my house. That's how my dad ran his house. That's America.
this shit ain't Handmaid's Tale. I don't.
All right, you do what you got to do. As long as
Yeah,
I
is
get
that sister? Is this Sister Wives yet? Have I entered Sister Wives territory?
just saying.
Does he even run his household on Sister Wives? I don't even think he runs it fully.
I don't think so. I think these bitches are turning lesbo or something. I saw last I
I
saw.
don't know if they're turning lesbo, but I think they're not intrigued by him walking around in his man bun now. I think they've kind of like whatever. Okay.
Anyway, so there'll be no nonsense. Look, on the opposite end of the weekend, you do what you got to do, but I don't want to hear this like I've got business to do on Thursday night, so I can't make the show at 7:45. Oh, you'll make the show.
I'm looking at my calendar in front of me right now, and it appears that I don't have anything. I do have a business meeting on Friday. I guess I should probably take care of that.
Yeah, you should probably move that somewhere.
But everything else looks good though.
Okay, cool.
All right. There's some other things. Your boy Brian Singer apparently is he making the movie Red Sonja? Red
No,
Sonja
he's
is also,
no. In fact, he's not. He's
and
been
so
fired.
they've booted him off officially then, huh?
Yeah, he's out. Because
And
even
that's
Red Sonja, which was a D-list property at best anyway, even they don't want to touch Brian Singer now.
okay. So right now they're just like we don't want to feel like dealing with the public relations stuff. Get your shit cleared up. And if we haven't got somebody else to direct the movie, we might consider you. No? Yes? Maybe?
I don't know. I think he's kind of in a place where Kevin Spacey was in a couple years ago, like persona non grata. I don't know if this is one of those things like James Gunn that you can necessarily forgive just by saying I'm sorry.
Oh, well, sure. So right now we think he's more on the spectrum of Kevin Spacey then, not so
Yeah, I
much.
think he's more on the no one
It's
will
where
work.
it's affecting his work now. This is
Yeah,
affecting his work.
yeah.
Okay.
Not to say he
Uh,
can't ever come back. Like if he's proven innocent in a trial or something, of course, you'll have to wait and see. But right now, I think he's on the do not fly list.
I got some Game of Thrones news. I mean, they came out with another trailer.
Yeah.
Uh, that was great. It was kind of the trailer that I wanted, and that's what they gave me. A lot of action, a lot of intensity. Um,
Did you
A
see the
lot.
run times of the episodes that dropped this week?
Yeah, I saw that, and you were kind of hoping that they would all be like an hour and a half, but it appears like maybe the first two
Or an
are
hour?
yeah, 59 minutes, 54, and then after that it becomes like an hour and a half,
Yeah,
I believe, hour and
yeah.
20 minutes. Either way, I'm good with it all. Um, I'm assuming if they tighten this shit up, we cut out the fat. I'm cool. I'm
Are you and
cool.
Carlos going to have like a viewing party for the premiere?
Yeah, I think he wants to get together for every episode. Maybe we can do it at each person's house or something
Oh,
else
that's
like that.
nice.
Um, so I think that'll be an idea. But that's Sunday night. Carlo lives all the way in bumfuck Egypt. He's
Well,
always
maybe
out there.
you could do it like you said. Every other episode, you go to the
Yeah.
other person's
Yeah,
house.
I need a bullet train to get to his house. Okay. So also they were talking with George R. R. Martin, and he said that the hardest scene for him or episode was the red wedding, because he remembers he said when he was writing that scene, it was like he was killing off his own children um, in that. So he also talked that we're waiting on this book. I think it's When's a War. It's been like several years, and he's still
So,
working. He's still
yeah,
working on it,
what is he
and
doing? Like writing a word a day? I mean, is that what happens?
the thing about it is there was supposed to be another book after Winds of War. I just don't think he's going to be alive to make it that long. No offense.
Wow.
I mean, he looks like he's really trying to get it done, but we're not there, and he's aware that obviously we passed the book. I mean, we passed him a long time ago on the TV show, and that the difficulty is keeping these two worlds separate. I can imagine it's got to be hard because you got the showrunners coming to you going, "Where do you think you're going with this?" And he's like, "This is where I'm going with it," but then he starts writing the story, and he may decide to change his direction and go a different way. So, I guess in a way that when we watch the TV show, that'll be one like a parallel universe. This will be one alternative ending. And then when you go to read the books for the people that are invested, it might be something completely different or sort of similar. I don't know. Um, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Because technically, I like the idea of being surprised. Like, I didn't start reading the books until I started watching the series.
Right.
And so it was nice to kind of supplement after I saw the series to read the book. I'm like, oh, this is so much better. There's so much more detail. I don't know, Bill. It's very confusing. My emotions are all over the place.
But you
Um,
were not necessarily super high the last time we spoke about this show
oh,
on
not at all. It's far
concept of
not.
the show.
When we talked about like seasons or whatever else, to me, these seasons, these last couple seasons, have had the air of bringing somebody in from general television, mainstream television, because the writing and the direction of it has been something that seems very basic and paint by numbers and the lines and overly dramatic. And it's not kind of what I expected from the show. It's almost like now all of a sudden it's Jersey Shore. You become famous and then all of a sudden your behavior changes. Before you were just wearing like dark and dingy clothes, and by next season you're wearing like new fresh leathers. Everybody's got like, we got a bigger budget, so everything's bigger. Do you remember the RoboCop movies?
Yeah.
If you remember the first RoboCop, I distinctly remember the color palette being a little bit darker, grainy, shady, as well as the robo suit looking like it was from a junkyard, like it's hammered. It looked like it was worn.
Right.
After it was I guess you could call it a sort of a cult hit. It hit. I'm not sure how much money it made, but enough to get us a couple more RoboCops and a reboot. But for the second RoboCop, that shit was shiny as hell. It was like a new Mercedes fresh off the lot, his uniform. And I'm thinking, this is you've already changed what was good, what made the first one great. It was sort of like it was in the trenches, and now you've taken them out of the trenches and put them in the suburbs. It wasn't the same, and I feel like that's what Game of Thrones done. It's been a victim of its own success, where they seem to be doing more things um, that fall into standard formulas instead of just trying to push everything forward, like change the game, change the dynamic. Anyway,
So none of this is going to, of course, keep you away from watching the final
Oh,
season.
you had me
So,
go over that whole rant to end up with no. I'm not. I'll be there. Frame one, second one, 9 o'clock,
okay.
wherever else with Chipotle in hand, ready to
Right.
rock and roll with that shit. So yeah. Oh, by the way, I watched Trading Spaces last night a little bit.
So did I, actually.
Did you watch the one where the guy was doing the '70s thing with the frisbees on the wall?
I did.
Okay. Now, my woman was next to me sleeping, but she woke up and she looked at those colors. They were doing a '70s theme color.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and she looks at me and she goes, those colors are hideous. And then she kind of falls back asleep. But I was mesmerized by the fact that he was putting up the frisbees and the couples are giving shade. Both the couples
Right.
were giving shade to the designers
Yeah.
about what they were doing. Now, normally I didn't think on Trading Spaces that the people are just like, okay, you're the designer. I don't know if my friend Bobby's going to like this, but okay. These people were like, this is not what they said. They wanted light colors in here, and this color is dark. Are you blind? Do you even know what a dark color is? I mean, I'm like, is that what the show does? Is that what the people are like?
I think they're getting a little sassier with the people. Maybe it's trying to keep up with the times to like give a more realistic reaction to people's feelings about stuff. But you remember Hildy, the old designer
Oh,
who everybody hated. Remember because he faked that Hildy was doing the other person's house?
oh, I thought that was funny because that bitch was not having it. She was sitting
She was
going
like,
anybody but Hildy.
right. And but see, Hildy knows that. She plays into the whole I can just put moss on your wall and what are you going to do about it aesthetic. So she plays it up where she's just like, "Hi, you're doing your house, and I'd have been like, "Bitch, no." Just like that one lady was like, "No."
So I'm
But
watching this and I'm going, he's putting frisbees up on the wall, and the people are like, "Is this going to look cheap?" And he's like, "No, no, no." And he's like, "What's wrong with your face?" And she's just like, "I just don't think this is going to be long term. Essentially, having frisbees up on your wall." And I'm just like, I agree. I couldn't stay awake to finish how it ended, but I can't imagine that the people.
they acted like they loved it. The
Oh, they
'70s
did.
guy loved it. The '70s house, those people loved it.
Okay.
Although I thought there were some wanky elements to it, and as well as the frisbees on the wall, putting the Polaroids in the table, I thought was kind of junky. Um, but
Would you do Trading Spaces if they came to you and said, "Let's do Trading Spaces"?
no,
Would you?
I think they do everything on the cheap. I think it always looks like it costs $5. Um, Most of the time when they do like weird design elements, I don't think they work. And then of course it would involve me having to be friendly with my neighbors, which isn't gonna happen either. So I don't think so because I would take one look at some shit like Hildy glued to my wall and be like, well, I mean the shit's coming down, but I mean I guess it's fine. So
Is there anything built in the budget where you can give me money back so I can correct all of this? I
right
mean,
now, would you? Would you ever do that show?
not based on what
We're
I.
so off topic.
Yeah, I know. If I actually was able to pick the designer and they were serious.
No, you can't pick the designer. They don't tell you who.
Well, right. Then I can't do the show because I'm not going to have to go back behind somebody and deal with something. Because I'm going to say something like, by the way, what do you like? I like comic books. I like the movie Roadrunner. I mean, Mad Max. And next thing you know, they're going to be having like,
Comic books on your wall.
yeah, it's just something very simplistic. I mean, the person said they wanted to do something. The one couple, I can't remember what
50s.
their 50s, right? And the one guy, they were in the overstock. You can pick your own item,
Right.
and the director has to use. And they're like, "We'll pick these wire baskets." I was like, "This is it." Out of this whole room, you're going to pick out some cheap ass wire baskets for your neighbors.
I honestly liked the '70s house. I thought the '70s house was kind of very Saturday morning cartoon, very '70s looking. The '50s house with the spray painted, what should you call it, the Sputnik light, did
Yeah.
not really work for me.
Okay.
Um,
I can tell you right now, if I'm dropping off my child at the house and I walk in and there's frisbees on the wall, I'm like, "You're not staying the night here. Eat the cake.
ah,
Pick you up by 6."
get your shit. Let's go. Anyway, we're way off topic. This is
Oh, we're
not
off
the
topic. I'm
TV
sorry. Okay.
podcast.
All right. I'm here. I'm back.
Okay. All right. So the only other topic that I have that we haven't yet touched on is the Alien movie 40th anniversary coming up.
Sure.
in which they are to celebrate. They're releasing 6 short films um, that are original material but set in the Alien universe that were done by fans, and then were picked up by some internet company and given like a budget to actually do these. So there's a teaser for it. I don't know if you've seen it, the 40th anniversary shorts official teaser.
I
If
have
you
not.
haven't, I will send it to you. Um, but it's kind of exciting to get new content set in the Alien universe because we're probably not going to get Prometheus 3 because it wasn't super successful. What was it? Alien Covenant wasn't super successful. So, in order to celebrate, I know they're also releasing. And this is a unique way to sort of celebrate the anniversary because usually all you usually get is like a anniversary Blu-ray gift set, something like that, if you're lucky. But this is original material that's created within the Alien universe and generated by fans. So I think it's kind of cool. It's going
All
to be
right.
released on IGN.com, and they're going to release like one a week for 6 weeks. So
And how long are these supposed to be, by the way?
I think they're like under 5 minutes, maybe. So, but definitely a cool concept, and I think I will be watching them. So,
Okay. Oh, that reminds me. I also well, send me so I can watch something of it to see if I'm
yeah,
gonna check this out because that's in my wheelhouse. I also saw Mortal
sure.
Engines. We talked about this
Right.
offline. I gave the movie 1 star. I recommend not watching it at all. It's 2 hours
Really?
8 minutes. You won't get that time back at all. Do not watch. Run far away. We do also have Creed coming to our house on Monday, so you know what that means.
Creed 2, right?
Yeah, Creed 2. So my woman's gonna be looking at me going, "How come you don't look like that?" I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, yeah."
Really?
Whatevs, whatevs. Creed 2. That's gonna be a hot product in our house. Um, okay, I have to go here, Bill, because you know I'm like a dog with a bone. They're coming
Okay.
for my people, as you would say. So Netflix finally responded to Steven Spielberg and his attempt to destroy them.
Okay.
And they sent out a tweet saying, quote, "We love cinema. Here are some things we also love. Access for people who can't always afford or live in towns without theaters,
As if
or
there was such a thing anywhere in this world.
letting everyone everywhere enjoy releases at the same time. Giving filmmakers more ways to share art. These things are not mutually exclusive." They didn't mention Steven Spielberg by name, but obviously this is in response to him trying to destroy them.
I don't know. It's so fucking dramatic. Steven Spielberg is out to destroy Netflix. That's really not super accurate, but
I mean, now you know I'm not a fan of Ava DuVernay, but she's got a couple things dropping on Netflix. She's got the Central Park 5, which I probably won't watch because that thing would hurt my heart, so I don't want to watch it. But she says one of the things I value about Netflix is that it distributes Black work far wide. 190 countries will get when they see us, whatever film she has. I've had just one film distributed wide internationally, not Selma, not A Wrinkle in Time. It was 13th by Netflix. And there was a few other people that kind of quoted about how Netflix allows them to expand and people to see their work that wouldn't even make it into a theater otherwise. I think there has to be something for that.
yeah, I
You
don't
know,
disagree with that.
you
That
know,
that's
you can watch some
valuable
sort
thing.
of talent out there, you know, that might not get discovered just because somebody doesn't find it worthy to be released in the theater. And all of a sudden you're just like, well, whoever did this film actually is pretty good and has a talent and it can lead to bigger and better things. And it's a way of being noticed. It's sort of like YouTube kind of evening the playing field of where you're able to get a voice out there and expand. And if you're good, maybe you can rise to the top. Even if you're bad, you can still rise to the top.
I don't
Uh,
know. I mean, I haven't read the full extent of Steven Spielberg's comments about this issue. Do you care to enlighten me? I mean, what is exactly? Can I get some quotes?
I don't have any quotes in front of me. I have Ferg on
Oh,
my lap.
prepared as well as usual. Okay, so
So, but I can come up with some quotes by him. I don't know if there's a lot out there that's been issued for him. I mean, it's what we talked about before, though. But I can try to find some actual quotes later.
okay,
Um, but what's also been dropping out here apparently is Apple is going to be trying to get into the space, if you will. They're going to be starting their own Netflix operation. So they're going to be having this event called It's Showtime event. And they're going to have this, they don't know what their service is going to be called, but it's going to be featuring programming from Oprah Winfrey and, drumroll, Steven Spielberg. So they've all been commissioned to create series and movies for this Apple and trying to get a hold of the 1.4 billion people that have access to their iPhones and iPads and everything else like that. So right now, as it stands, let me see here.
All right. So did you?
I'm sorry,
also
I'm
read-
trying to find this. I know we had the death spot. Netflix has about 140 million subscribers. Number 2 is Amazon, which has about 100 million subscribers, and number 3, Hulu, has 25 million subscribers. Fuck, Netflix has a ton of subscribers, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're hoping that the people at Apple believe if they do this right, they could have 100 million subscribers within 3 to 5 years. But probably they're going to have to start doing more, obviously, original content and other shows. But they're going to try to enter this space, and they're bringing Steven Spielberg, who was just throwing Netflix shade. It's bullshit.
Well, now
Okay, it's
there's
bullshit.
been a truce. Did you read this story that this week Hollywood was? This is from Page 6. Is buzzing that Spielberg and Netflix are calling a truce in their public battle over the Oscars. The iconic Jaws director was reportedly been pushing for Oscars to create guidelines that would keep streaming services from competing for Academy Awards. Was spotted having dinner this week with Netflix honcho Ted Sarandos at LA's most private members club.
He's probably throwing out the peace sign because he's about to sign a deal with Apple, and he's going to probably want his shit to be nominated for an award.
Says sources of the sit down at the Uber exclusive restaurant. This is being seen around town as a truce between two of the most powerful men in Hollywood that were not getting along. Spielberg never publicly mentioned his stance on Netflix, but previously said of streaming films at the Oscars, I don't believe films that are just given token qualifications. I don't believe films that are just given token qualifications in a couple of theaters for less than a week should qualify for Academy Award nominations. Okay. Well, apparently they're...
Yeah.
throwing
He's going
in
to
the
change
towel.
his mind when Apple, he's making original content for Apple. And then when Apple, all of a sudden, people are like, well, we'd like to submit this movie that we made originally over here at our thing for an Oscar. And he's going to be like, Steven, shut the fuck up. Okay. This is good for us. He's going to play ball. He's hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, Bill.
Is it possible that he changed his mind and it's not related to the whole
He changed his
Apple
mind
purchase?
when he got that paycheck, okay? He's over there making films from Reddit now, okay? Apple is offering him to make some original shit. He's about to do it right now, okay? That's
But
what's going to happen.
also,
Is he not going to consider his stuff a movie when it drops on Apple?
maybe he's going to consider his stuff not Oscar eligible and still make it, but consider it, keep it from being nominated or not
You know
entering.
what? I'd like to see that happen. Then when that happens, we'll do a redo on that, on my opinion on that one.
Okay. I'm with him to a point, but by saying that films who are just released in New York and LA can't qualify for Oscars, that's a long tried and true and existed way before Netflix ever came around way of doing things as far as getting awards for movies that aren't necessarily going to be big blockbuster hits. They always do that. They've been doing that.
I think this article also pointed out that back in the 80s, and I don't know if you have any history with this or know this, I haven't really verified it here, but it was talking about that there was a time that Spielberg was dead set against having movies released on home video. And,
really?
And he did not want his movies released on home video. He relented and then allowed E.T. to be released on video.
Right.
The article goes, and the rest is history.
Right.
So he's got his own ideas about his shit. His shit is his shit. You can't stop the tidal wave. Home video, Netflix, streaming. You can see where this is going. Cutting the cord, it's all headed to one direction.
And I think Steven Spielberg sees where it's going too, which is why he's less uh, resistant than he was before.
Okay. Call it what it is. What else do we have, Bill? There is some other stuff over here. HBO's new CEO commented, he's taken over there and he's already throwing some shots at Netflix, saying he doesn't consider them to have a brand. He considers HBO and its stuff to have like a specific type of, I don't know, character.
Okay.
It's something special. While Netflix is just some sort of warehouse for a whole bunch of shit. He didn't say that, but I think he said it's like Encyclopedia Britannica. It's just not a great business model, people. Great business model. I
Who
don't.
said this?
This is a new guy in charge of HBO,
Right. Okay.
Bob Greenblatt.
Right. Okay.
So, as his job is actually to create more content for HBO, I mean, he's essentially just saying that Netflix is not going to be something he follows in creating that content.
And I mean,
Listen, I find what Netflix is doing.
oh boy. I understand, but is it the only way to do something? I mean, I'm not saying Netflix shouldn't be existing because everything has to
not,
be
but
Netflix.
I feel like Netflix is actually just out there generating content, giving people access to a lot of different shows, and putting just a ton of stuff out there. Whether you want
You know
to
what? Here's the thing with Netflix for
right,
me.
see whether you want to access it or not. So the issue
If
now is going like, well, they're not really doing quality stuff like we're doing over here. We've got 5 shows, but they're all great shows. We don't have 1,000 shows because we're only really focused on doing high content. Okay, well, I like the ability to determine what I want to watch when I want to watch. There's like 500 shows under the horror section. Okay, maybe 400 might not be for my liking, but there's probably something in there if I might be going. I like the access. You know what it is? It's like walking through the video store. It's old school walking through the Blockbuster. I walk through, I'm able to pick up the boxes, look at it. Might not be good, but I like the idea of perusing, Bill, and having
content whore. Now, here's the issue that I have with Netflix. This is just how I feel about the company as a whole.
You better watch yourself of what you're about to say here.
If you're going to purport yourself to be the future of cinema and the way the film industry should be moving towards and a business model that makes this all true, if you're going to be thumping your tub up there talking about how wonderful you are as a company to allow access to things that people wouldn't otherwise see, you might want to have more than 15 movies that were made prior to 1980 on your service. That's all I'm saying.
Whatever, old man.
Okay?
We don't need your talk films on here. Okay. We don't need your Casablanca on our show. All right, we don't.
I mean, if you're going to be considered like the film library, like the Library of Congress or whatever, like you said, then you're going to have more than 15 movies made prior to the 80s on your service. That's just
these kids aren't watching that shit, Bill. That's only for this baby boomer generation of yours over here going like this. I need Some Like It's Hot on here. The kids are gonna be like, Some Like It's Hot. Is that Ariana Grande's new video? I mean,
that's fine, but then don't hold yourself up to a standard that you really have no ambitions or intent to make a reality. That's all I'm saying. It seems hyperbolic and perhaps a little bit bullshitty.
140 million subscribers.
It's a lot of people. Doesn't make it the be-all, end-all film service ever made.
They got my money.
I know. And the thing about it is their primary content isn't even films anymore, or maybe it never was. Their primary content is original programming, which is fine. But again, you make yourself sound like something you're not.
All right. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. I just don't have the strength today. I just don't have the strength today.
For?
Captain Marvel. So we
Did
received.
you read Nadia's email?
I did read it. She
She
gave a
liked it.
very yeah, she gave a very nice thorough review. I like that she went with her daughter and that you know, her daughter picked out certain parts that she didn't think. I think some of her parts were more of the deep, like inspirational parts, and some of her favorites. And Nadia's like the mother is just like I was picking out like the fart jokes. I thought that was my favorite, but my daughter's over there. She liked it. Um, we
Well,
saw it
I
twice,
tend to agree with
and I
her. I
like to say
liked
I
it.
stayed awake twice for the movie.
Yeah, so that's a shocker because that's never happened in the history of us going to see movies where we see the second showing on matinee time on the next day, and inevitably, every single time, you fall asleep. This is the first time I've known you not to fall asleep in the second viewing, which speaks to me, but maybe you don't feel that way.
No, and I also have to admit that for both showings, I was people to my left were either talking or doing some sort of weird laugh that nobody else does, like a Joker laugh, what I call it, stripper or Joker laugh.
I had a
That-
guy on my right side that was doing the same thing, though. So, and
oh.
the theater we might want to point out was jam packed.
What did you think of the Captain Marvel movie, Bill?
Honestly, I liked it. I will even go so far as to say I liked it a lot. I will not say I loved it. Um, I thought there was for me, one of the things that has bothered me in the earlier phases of Marvel was the lack of character development. And when I think of that issue for myself, I think of things inevitably like Thor 1, which felt very truncated and very sort of surfacey to me. And then I compare it to this movie, which really made an effort, I think, to give you some character development, some deeper layers of character interaction than has been present in some of the other movies. Um, in particular, my favorite relationship in the movie was between Captain Marvel and her friend Monica's mother. I can't remember her. Rambo was her name, and I thought that, again, in a superhero movie, it was refreshing to see a love story between friends, not necessarily a romantic love interest for a change. Um, that was a unique and different aspect of it that sort of pumped it up to another level for me. Um, but Captain Marvel as a character, I think, is maybe slightly underdeveloped in certain areas. I thought that Brie Larson was good, but not great in the part. I think she's a little green. Um, but I think I can see, a la Henry Cavill, which I've said before, I can see that she can grow and become more comfortable in the character's skin. Um, the effects were cool. There was a lot of cool action sequences. Another cool car chase with Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. So overall, I would give it. I think I said a solid B. I liked it.
I didn't like the movie as much as you did, but I echo some of the things that you said that essentially they had her have a very cool um, best friend relationship with Rambo as being a focus as opposed to having some sort of romantic lead, which is something you expect typically for them to do in the movies, that they have to have somebody opposite a lead, a male lead, and a
Right.
romance.
Right.
They forewent that. So I mean, I think that is great, and that's something that is a little bit different, is which I would cry for that these movies need. Um, Her powers. I'm a big fan, as you know, from some of our previous shows where they show her in the trailer when she puts on the helmet automatically comes up and it forms a mohawk and has her flying around. That shit is crazy cool to me.
They
It's just
call it going binary. I'm not sure I
is
understand
that
it.
is that the okay? When she goes binary, that shit right there is like I'm flipping the nipples right there. I'm flicking. I mean that's very
There
cool.
wasn't enough of that in the movie for me.
There's not enough of that, but when that shit right there, I hope
When she goes all glowy.
it goes to the nines in Endgame because that's very cool for me. Now, in terms of her development as a character, I did not find it. I found that her motivations and the way the directors and writers were trying to do it was to show that when you get knocked down, you get back up. I found that those type of things weren't really. I know we argued, at least I argue with you ad nauseum, how her falling off a bike and getting back up is not some sort of like grand thing that um, some sort of grand problem that you have to struggle with. Okay, you fell off your bike, you got back on it, no big deal.
This from the man who just spent 20 minutes complaining to me about his door in his kitchen. You can't identify with other.
Once again, those are first world problems.
Right.
That's my whole point. Right. I can't have somebody make a movie going, "What's going on? I'm having a trying day. The door that I ordered is not the right door. I don't know. I feel very upset." Right. And then somebody looking at me going like this, you know what? I'm not going to be upset. I'm going to call them back up and make sure that there's another new door because I'm not going to take this lying down. That's what it is. You're just like, is there some sort of, can we overcome something real? Like, okay, your parents were shot in front of you.
Your door problem is real to you. Falling off a bike was real to Carol.
I don't think it was actually real to her. I think the directors were like, we don't really have any traumatic backstory like Uncle Ben dying or something else to really put her on this path. So let's just take all this little shit and then try to act like it's big shit. That's what they did.
She's a blonde.
Falling off a bike, doing a ropes course in the military. I mean, and then she got back up. You're acting like this is what I said to you before. It's almost like she's eating cereal and the cereal falls off her spoon. But instead of like giving up, she goes back in and gets another spoonful because she won't be deterred in making sure she eats the food.
She's a blonde white woman. How difficult can her life actually be? No, I'm kidding, people. That was a joke.
But that's sort of like the whole motivation for her. You could have probably just done without it. It's almost like you have to feel the need to give the people some sort of theme. And the theme was like not laying down. And so you're trying to find something to fit in there. And sometimes I guess maybe you could just sit there and be like, I don't know if you need it.
But they do need it because the whole movie is an answer to the whole thing that women are considered secondary citizens in this country, that they're somehow less than or beneath.
See, that's what you're wedging in there. I think they could have probably told the story without even trying to wedge in some sort of issue like that. I mean, does that have to be an issue? Can she just be a hero without addressing it? Do you have to be an addresser that somehow is Chris Hemsworth Thor being addressed for having long blonde hair and people discriminating against people with long blonde hair as hippies? You don't have to address anything. She could just be who she is without there being some sort of overarching issue. It's that when they write the movies, they're like this, we need a theme. What's going to be our theme? How about women as second-class citizens? That's what they're doing.
It would be like Black Panther not addressing the fact that he's black. I mean, it's kind of,
is there any other way to address a story or have a story without there having to be some sort of cultural roots issue? Does it always have to be roots? I mean, you're acting like somehow if we're going to have a Native American history, I mean, a hero, then we have to address the reservations issue. I mean, really? Do you have to?
For the first movie, yes. If you want something outside
She's not the first movie. This is not the first female superhero movie. We've got several of these bad boys out here. She's not the first over here.
She's the first Marvel female lead. And
the first female lead, really.
In a
We've already Scarlett Johansson. We've already had some.
She's not a lead.
Oh, so she's the one. The lead has to address the trials and the tribulations of the past.
The first one out of the gate has to address it. If you want to see a story involved with this character that doesn't involve this social issue, wait for the sequel.
Yeah, we'll be addressing this shit in the second one too. I guarantee you. Okay, when this Captain Marvel 2 comes out and they do some other bullshit with her going like this, I am a woman, hear me roar crap. It's not necessary, Bill. It's amateur hour with them writing it. Okay, they could have done without it. It's not necessary. And if they were going to do it, like I said, pick something that has some sort of substance to it. And
what? So the woman has to be raped or somehow imprisoned in order for her to have a real life issue?
Well, no, there's lots of real issues out there. But don't give me falling off a bike and the fact that she was in the military and doing a ropes course and she fell off. Guess what? She's not the only one that falls off the ropes course. I saw Officer and Gentleman. Mayo didn't fall. Mayo was almost washed out, and so was his guy partner. It's difficult. Not everybody can do it.
It was a simple representation of, like you said, the resiliency of the human spirit.
Yes,
That's
we
all.
get it. When you fall down, we get up. I mean, that's not something that's uncommon. Like she's the only one that's getting back up of falling off a bike. Okay, it's ridiculous. We all fallen off a bike and got back on it. Come up with something else that you're sitting there going, I don't know if I could have done
What
that.
would you consider to be a legitimate problem for her to
That's my
overcome in
point.
a
Is
premiere
that
movie?
I'm not the writer. Come
Oh,
up
okay.
with something else besides that's not common.
Okay.
If you're really talking about her falling off a go kart and sitting there going like that's okay, and they didn't even kick the neck to back up. It's
It
not like they
wasn't
showed.
about. It wasn't
It's not
about
showing
her
her getting
falling.
back on the go kart.
It
Or
wasn't about.
let me finish. There was
Okay.
another scene where she was on the beach and she pulls herself up off the ground off the beach. It's like she was a little kid and she like fell down on the beach and she's just standing up. It just seems kind of like okay, she fell down at the beach. We all tripped and fall when we were running and she got back up and I'm supposed to applaud her for being like this is such a strong woman. She fell down and she stood back up. You know what? That's ridiculous. You know, it was when Captain America was getting his ass beat by Thanos, and then he's still willing to stand up, or he was fighting Tony, what's his name? Tony Stark, Robert Downey's character, and he's still willing to get back up after he's getting his ass beat to a pulp when he's close to being death. We just saw Winter Soldier, and he's willing to sacrifice himself to save himself with the Winter Soldier kicking his ass at the end of the movie. Okay, those things right there where you're just like, okay, I'm not going to let that happen, but he's willing to sacrifice the ultimate. Her riding a go kart, standing up at a beach, or falling off a ropes course does not seem to somehow speak to me as something equal as those other powerful scenes. I don't walk away with her from looking at her doing like she did something so great and overcame so much for me
It
to
is not.
respect her as much as a hero.
It
I'm
is not
saying they,
about.
writers could have wrote something else with more substance for her.
It's not about her falling down from a rope and getting hit by a go kart or hitting a bale of hay in a go kart race. Okay, what it is about
Go
is
ahead.
about who was there and what they were telling her when she fell down. And what they were doing was telling her she can't do it, she's not good enough. In every one of those things that you mentioned, there's always a man in the scene that always says to her when she falls down that she's weak, that she's not strong, that she can't make it. And her getting up in spite of that is the successful
I felt like this was
part
written
of the
by
story.
some sort of Hallmark Oprah channel, and it was very just surfacey. I felt like this could have been done more subtly and with more weight to it.
This is
So,
coming from a man who has, gotten 2 awards from both of the places in which he did excel in his sport as a young person.
okay,
Okay.
what's your point?
You don't understand what it is for people to tell you you can't, you won't, you whatever in that area that you've had success in. I'm not saying in your whole life no one's ever told you you weren't good enough or you never felt that. I'm saying
Okay.
in the area that you excelled in, you've always been given or you've always earned your spot and no one questioned it once it was earned. No one came up to you and said, well, of course you can run like the wind. You're a black guy.
You,
Black
you,
guys run like that all the time.
I know where you. I see where you're going. Let me interrupt you. I'm saying that in terms of giving it to a deaf DEFT director, somebody else could have crafted a better backstory with her and taking those examples without making it so fairly obvious and fairly simple. And I think there could have been more gravitas to it instead of having her at such a young age with her riding a go-kart and crashing and her father saying you shouldn't be on the go-kart. I mean, you know what? Maybe she shouldn't be on the go kart. Maybe she didn't ride one before. You made it almost like a feminist thing, like it was a female thing that she can't drive a go kart like everybody else. And then it went into she was doing something with the military where she actually fell off the ropes course. It wasn't something that she couldn't do it because based on her, she just couldn't do it herself. It's almost saying like, okay, it's like becoming a Navy SEAL. Not everybody can become a Navy SEAL. People wash out. They fail the test. Her not passing the test has nothing to do with her sex. It has to do with whether or not she can do it as a person. Some people can and some people can't. She did it, but you're trying to mark it into something like, yes, they're making fun of her as a woman. Men can't necessarily do the course. Her getting back up is a struggle that we all face, not just her as a woman. I get where you're going with it. I just felt as though that they could have probably wrote this in a better way. I would have rather they just had somebody sit down with her directly, like her military chief, and be like, you know what, you're not going to be successful doing this line of work. Okay, we're not even going to put you on the ropes course. We're not even going to allow you to compete to do this. I don't know, something more like direct as opposed to some of the surfacey stuff. I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy it.
Okay,
Bill.
I understand.
I
just
liked
think,
Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. I thought he stole the show a little bit for me. And
you know how I feel about Ben Mendelsohn. I don't know why everybody loves him.
Okay, I felt that he was very humorous. I liked her best friend Rambo. I agree with you in terms of their interaction and the relationship is something different that you normally don't see. And I appreciate it on a lot of different levels. And they didn't really, what's the word? Diminish it. It looked like it was real, and I enjoyed that. Um, what else? I felt like there could have been more action.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
I felt like I felt like there was not enough action, and I think the movie screams to have action, especially with her and Jude Law's characters and the Skrulls. It seems too much like a setup film. And
well, and again, this is why there's a lot of, for me, a lot of feelings of deja vu or comparisons with this movie with Marvel Phase 1 movies, in particular Captain America, the First Avenger, because that was also a very strongly set up type movie. I would agree with you that there's not enough action in the movie. I think there should have been more of her going binary, if that's what they call it, and exploring that sort of aspect of her full powers being unleashed, which was probably the coolest thing in the movie to me. I agree. But
no,
yeah,
okay. Superfan Nadia also pointed out in her email that she wasn't bothered by the music. I think. I feel for me like the difference with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel is the music felt like nails on a chalkboard for me. And when I watch some of these movies and films, I like the songs. Outside of the movie, I generally like the songs that
you're
are
talking about the I'm Just a Girl song.
well, I'm just a girl. You're playing Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit." It's throughout the whole film, and I think with James Gunn, the way he worked in his movies, it fits a theme. And I feel like sometimes as a director, sometimes they just put in the music instead of just pushing forward the plot. The music does it for them. It's an easy way to convey emotion or whatever you're thinking at that point. It seems basic for me, and it seemed like they were just throwing out songs and soundtracks and beating me over the head that it was the 90s or the 80s or whatever it was. It seemed like Kevin Feige could have picked a different director, and I could have probably got more out of this movie with somebody else at the helm. No offense.
I didn't direct it.
So
what grade are you giving the movie in an overall grade?
If I gave it anything more than a C plus, Superfan Carlos would berate me. So I'm giving it a C plus.
Okay.
There are some great things to it, some great things, but there's some other things that I just find it to be like I just roll my eyes. I'm hoping that when we saw the extra scene where she shows up at the Avengers Endgame,
which was directed by the Russos, by the way,
with the Russos, that I'm going to probably end up looking at Captain Marvel differently, and I'm going to look at you and be like, "This is what happens when you let real directors direct the people.
Right.
This is what they pull out of them."
So
that's where I'm going to go with it there, because I'm going to see what they do with her character, and it'll be an interest because we'll only have a month to figure that out. So I give it a C plus, but I think it fits within what Marvel does. Like it's not somehow like an outlier.
As far as the Captain Marvel,
and not to mention, we also they made the Skrulls misunderstood.
versus the Megalomania. They did a twist or a switcheroo on you, because in the beginning of the movie they lead you to believe the Skrulls are the bad guys and the Kree are the good guys. It turns out that the Skrulls were the good guys and the Kree were the bad guys.
Yeah, they're ready to just blow up whole planets.
Right.
Which is
That was, I think, clever. And subversion of expectations, because you do sort of set up these movies in a formulaic pattern where the bad guys are the bad guys, the good guys are the good guys, and that never wavers or changes. Well, this one did, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, see, this is the other thing here with the writing. You know, it's the whole idea that you're confused about the motivations of the Skrulls. Okay, and they give Bill Mendelsohn and Talos these opportunities to kind of explain their plight and their people, and that they're just trying to find some place to live. And then we have the Kree. Now, all we really get from the Kree is Hulk smash. Okay, which I think is represented by Ronan in this. If they're there, we're going to wipe them out and blow up the whole planet. No questions asked.
Right, Ronan's like a radical.
Right, but it's not like you're really even finding out what the Kree are about either. You know what I mean? Like they did a switcheroo, but they're not really fleshing out both sides. It's still black and white.
Right.
But they made one side a little bit more like better because they got the opportunity to explain their platform, while the other side is like brute force. And I don't think that's I think you could probably you know, the whole idea as we were watching the Avengers movies over time, as you sat with me going like, you can see each person's position. At one point they were over here, and then over time, over a few movies, they've changed their spot. You know, and you can see why they've changed. Tony Stark was over here at one point, and he's at the other end, and vice versa. You watch them change. Here we have these two races, but they're very much simpletons, you know, initially, like, you know, bad guys, good guys. Now you have a little bit more that's fleshed out on one of them, but the other one's still just cookie cutter. I'm just hoping what I expect more with 22 or 23 movies in, with the writing and directing, that they try to just get past the cookie cutter stuff and expand it a little bit more. You have the foundation for it. It's not that you don't. I mean, you're doing an intergalactic film. You know, it's begging to be expanded on. If the Russos can do it with pulling in like 15 different characters in over 2 hours, I expect somebody to be doing it without having to deal with as much. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I hear you. I think there's a balance though with the delivery of the fleshing out of the villain characters that they have to be careful of, because the movie isn't called the Skrulls versus the Kree. It's called Captain America. So I'm not saying there can't be more development or more explanation or fleshing out. And perhaps down the line, as they've introduced these Skrulls, I'm sure not for just this one movie, I'm sure this will be further explored somewhere down the line. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
So the Kree want the Tesseract so they can destroy the Skrulls.
Correct.
Why do they want to destroy the Skrulls?
Because they're like the Mexicans of their planet.
This is like your fourth time today. It's like your fifth time. It's your fifth time.
It's not my fifth time. But
I'm going to call this. I'm going to call episode 84 "The Wall." Build the wall.
I'm not saying I condone it. I'm saying there's in Trump land, that's what the equivalent would be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's, if the Skrulls would have ended up being the bad guys, I think this would have been fine. But the fact that you kind of changed it all around, then it begs to the question is what the Kree is about. And I felt like maybe they could have explained it or gave it a line of going like the Kree were, you know, were fighters. And,
what we know for sure about the Kree is that they're liars and cheaters, and that they will do or say just about anything to get what they want. And maybe that's not true of all Kree. And maybe
okay, and maybe that's the route that it's going to go. I'm very curious.
Yeah, I think you should give them as if with this aspect of the storyline, we're only yet introducing the surface level of these characters or this race. Perhaps we will get more answers as time goes on.
Okay. Fair enough, Bill. So I think you give it a B plus, right?
No, B.
A B. I think Superfan Nadia gives it what, a B, B plus? If I had to read her email based on her grade, I think that's what I give it. So our next movie we have coming up is Shazam. I am not looking forward to that.
Yes, I'm aware.
I caught myself smiling at one point on one of the jokes, though.
In the trailer?
In the trailer, I forgot which one joke it was, but it was something that was kind of cute. But generally speaking, it's just not at my wheelhouse. It's just not at my.
So
wheelhouse.
I just spent $35 on some tickets, and your ass is like, whatever. Really? I suggest you get a little bit more enthusiasm over there, bitch.
I am. I'm gonna try. Maybe if there's some sort of violence, is there going to be some sort of killing, some sort of deaths?
I don't think so. I think they're going a different way with this one. And I understand it's not your go-to tone,
When
but
we go and sit down and I see parents bringing their kids that are 7 years old, I mean, I have to sit there and question come on.
it's a Star Wars level movie. I think they're aiming for all audience pleasing. Not just 45-year-old men who live in their girlfriend's basements.
I could treat this movie a little bit different if I knew that they were going to bringing all these heroes together under the direction of a very good leader, and I'm going to be getting some sort of Avengers, Russo brothers type of shit going on. But I don't have that now. I just have an independent franchise out there just rolling through making jokes with no hopes that somebody else could sit there and make Shazam a little bit more manly.
Really?
Okay. I'm moving on. I'm a little bit off. I'm a little bit off today.
We're at 2.5 hours, right?
We're not at 2.5. We're 2.5 hours. We didn't start at 2.5 hours, so we're about reached the 2-hour mark for us.
Is it?
Yeah, we started 30 minutes late because I was whining about my first world problem.
Right, your first world problems, right?
Okay, so we're going to be wrapping this up, Bill. Okay. So for the box office mojo for the weekend of March 15th to the 17th of 2019, the #1 movie. It doesn't. You know what it is? I'm a troll, Bill. It doesn't matter what the fuck I say. It doesn't. Okay. Kevin Feige is sitting over there like burning logs of money to keep his house warm up there in the Alps. Captain Marvel pulled in another $69 million, bringing its worldwide total to $760 million. It's made $266 million domestically, and this is 2 weeks of release. It's already at $750 million. I don't know. What do you think?
What are we talking about? Captain Marvel?
Yeah. $750 million in 2 weeks.
I think it's doing what Marvel movies generally do. Rake in the dough. Okay.
It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what Payne says. It makes no difference what I say.
You know why?
I think that the writers didn't write enough about the women stuff and this or that. I don't know about $750 million 2 weeks.
These movies are finding an audience for a reason. I think these movies are speaking to people who haven't been spoken to enough. And I think that's why they're so successful, because they're serving an underserviced population.
What do you mean,
I think as long as they continue to find little pockets of the population that have been underserved, like by making the Eternals leader gay.
What are you talking about? Nobody went to see Atomic Blonde. What are you talking about? There was
There
was Tomb Raider. There was Tomb Raider. There's other female-led properties. What do you mean?
Not other female-led proper superheroes. We're talking female-led action heroes, not superheroes. Everybody wants in the Marvel game, when the boys are standing around the water cooler talking about how cool Captain America is and how cool Black Panther is or how cool Iron Man is, the girls don't have anybody to speak to how cool they are besides Black Widow, and her name is Black Widow. There's a
I
little bit of
find
a
that,
taint to it.
and this is your crazy world over here. That's what it is. Everything revolves around Marvel and DC. That's what it is in your world. That you're
Is it? Is
sitting
it my world when
there,
Marvel?
you're sitting there where the underserved population is going. Oh, you know what? I wish there was a female-led superhero film. And now that we have Captain Marvel, we're going to go out and see it. I don't see it that way. I see
Well,
it part of the Marvel machine and continual storytelling of Chapter 7, and you want to see what happens next in Chapter 8. And this is a cog in the wheel of the machine.
I don't think that explains it all. I'm sorry, I just don't. I think that explains some of it, but not all of it. You don't get to $1 billion movie by serving people the same stuff that they've gotten 100 million times before.
It's what you told me all the time. It's a cliffhanger, Bill. I got to see what happens next.
I get it. That's part of it. Sure, I'm not discounting that. That's part of it.
I
But
mean,
there's
we
another
can't go in there and see a movie that's going to maybe have Captain Marvel save the world without knowing what Captain Marvel did in the last movie. It seems that's part of it. Everything builds on it. If you want to have the full breadth of the story, it requires you to watch each of the next movies. Okay, and that's what the people are doing. They're
Didn't
in
work
it.
like it didn't work like that for Justice League.
So talk to me at the end of Endgame once that whole storyline, that whole chapter is closed, and then we have to start some new shit. That's where it's like the resetting the universe. Now we're going to start at book 0 again for the people who weren't able to get caught up on board with our 500 other issues. We're going to reset the world and then allow you the opportunity to catch up now. The Thanos storyline is ending, and we're going to be starting a new phase so you can jump on board. I would expect the numbers to dip at that point because the people might be like, I don't know if I want to start down this new journey on this new path.
I agree.
Okay. And so if they start off their new journey with going, what's going to be the next underserved population? What's their next, if their next movie was going to be Captain Gay Pants?
Really?
Okay. If that's going to be the first one of phase 4, I don't know if I see it going $750 billion because it's going to be the first one of the gate and you don't know what the overarching storyline or where it's going. It would be the first one. But now, if you were to put Captain K-Pants before Avengers Endgame, I would think it would do a lot of money. And I don't think for me, I know has anything to do with underserved. It's just like, well, I got to see what happens before Endgame. It's all part of the continuity.
I'm sorry. I don't know how a person of color could look at Black Panther and the cultural movement that was behind that movie and seeing people turn up to a theater in damn dashikis, okay, talking about all this stuff about representation on Twitter and Instagram and every other social media platform that they could reach, okay, and not say that it's beyond the inner workings of the Marvel universe and has gone to a whole other level of people finding something to identify it with in the movie that they have been longing for and finally got with Black Panther, and that spoke to them on a level wider than geekdom.
Okay. All right. You know what? That makes sense to me what you said. But then they already have Wonder Woman. I mean, what the hell? Why is this the first here?
There's 22 movies.
They've got Wonder Woman, Bill. So now every time, when Image Comics gets drafted by Blumhouse or some other outlier organization, and they make a movie, and it's going to be like some sort of Amazonian whatever else or something superhero. Are you going to sit there and say to me that's underserved because that's the first female for this side company comic book person? How often is it going to keep being the first? We already had Wonder Woman. Why? So this is the first superhero from Marvel now.
As you know, and I know, Marvel and DC.
Is there going to be any more firsts with women? When Scarlett Johansson's movie come out, is that going to be the underserved first woman superhero?
No, it's not. But you also know there's a difference between success at DC and success at Marvel. Okay, Marvel's on another level. It's indisputable than DC is. It's just indisputable. Not only do they have the advantage of multiple movies before DC did, but they also have the advantage of not having the stink of death on it the way DC has gotten. So Marvel being the biggest superhero comic book movie maker, it is a first, and it is a big deal because it is the first on that level of success. in that universe. That's considered the premium superhero movie universe.
Okay. Okay. I
Um,
find that you're on Kevin Feige's jog, whatever else it is. It's
just
so
pretend that Kevin Feige is the head of Netflix instead of Marvel, and you'll be down with it.
I'll be down with it. The number 2 movie in its opening weekend is Wonder Park, pulling in $16 million.
Really?
Um, are you seeing really like you expected it to not make this much money, or that it's very low for an animated film?
I think I didn't expect it to make that kind of money.
Okay, 16 million doesn't seem like a lot.
Well, no, but I mean, you've still got Captain Marvel out in theaters. It just seems like,
It's an animated film. You
yeah.
got a family of kids going out and they go, maybe they're too old for Captain Marvel. Let's take them to see Wonder Park.
Do you think 16 million is not a lot of money then?
I don't,
Okay.
because the number 3 movie in its opening week is a movie that made 13 million called 5 Feet Apart. Have you heard about 5 Feet Apart?
I've a little bit, yes, not much.
Okay, I
Is
haven't
this the
heard
one about
shit.
the kids in the hospital?
I don't know anything about 5 Feet Apart. In fact, and when I go to the actors listed, it doesn't list them because they're not even popular people. Okay, I haven't seen a trailer for 5 Feet Apart for a movie
I've seen the
that.
trailer.
Okay, well, for me, who combs the internet at different websites looking at all sorts of crap, entertainment wise, 5 Feet Apart has escaped me, but yet it made 13 million. Wonder Park, I did see that there was a trailer, did not watch it, and some other things about it only made 16 million parts. So for me, this movie just made some sort of like what I would call it happened to fall into the ocean. I mean, that's all it is. It couldn't help but make $16 million. It's the runoff from Captain Marvel. What else are you going to go see?
Okay, I could see that.
The number 4 movie in its 4th week of release is How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, pulling in another 9 million, bringing its total worldwide to 466 million. It looks like 3/4 of that money is made overseas. It's only made 135 million domestically.
They
So
had the same problem with the last part two of this universe. For some reason, Americans aren't really having it with and this is the
how to,
last one, so they don't have to worry about it, but the How
I
to
just
Train Your Dragon
it just
universe.
looks weird to me. It just doesn't seem like something.
Well, that Toothless is just adorable. That's all I can say.
Okay. It's all very it's like Ben Mendelsohn talking. Something's off about it. I don't know what it is. Number 5 movie in its 3rd week of release, Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral.
Tyler
Well,
Perry!
it brought in another $8 million, bringing its grand total to $60 million. So what do you have here? Director Tyler Perry, writer Tyler Perry, actor
Producer, Tyler Perry.
Tyler
Actor,
Perry.
Tyler Perry. Director, Tyler Perry.
Yeah, he is taking all the monies.
Yes, he has been taking all the monies.
All the
And
monies.
yeah,
There was
say what
2
you want
more.
about him. He's got an audience.
Yeah, and there was 2 more movies opening this weekend. Number 6, No Machos Frida 2.
What
No Machos Frida 2.
the hell is that?
I think that's Spanish, but I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
doing
so.
it. Okay. It brought in $4 million only at 472 theaters, which is great. But
Have
there
you
was
heard of this
also,
movie
but
before?
what's that?
Have you ever heard of this movie?
No, I haven't. But my
Okay.
point is, the number 7 movie is Captive State.
Ouch.
Now that was at 2,500 theaters, not 472, and it brought in less money, only $3 million.
That's the kid from Rashid's movie that's in there. That was in Twilight or Moonlight.
Oh, is
Lead
it?
guy. Yeah, the lead kid
No, the director of this is Rupert Wyatt,
who
and
directed, am I mistaken, District 9?
no, he did not. That was in District 9.
No, that was
Um,
Neil Blomkamp.
yeah, he directed Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what he's famous for. And I've seen the trailer for Captive State, and it looked interesting. But I guess apparently I only thought it was interesting because $3 million. It lost to No Machos Frida 2 on 470. I mean, that's a kick in the pants right there, man. That's a kick in the
Yeah.
pass. Oof.
No muchos dineros. That's really what it was supposed to be called.
Oh, that's no money's for you, man. That's terrible. That's really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is I guess it'll be coming to streaming maybe or with DVD, but much sooner.
Right.
Uh,
It'll hit Netflix quicker for you.
So I want you to know the whole time I've been doing this whole show, I've had Ferg here who's been bathed and clean. He smells like some sort of vanilla beans.
It won't last, but good for him.
Yeah, it won't last, but we're letting him roll around without a diaper on because we're trying to let it air out for him so he doesn't always have to walk around like smelling like literally every time somebody sits next to him and goes, "Oh, he stinks." I mean, he definitely has like one foot in the grave, but he's been sitting on
Stop.
my lap the whole time, sleeping and snoring.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I'm like Dr. Evil over here with the cat. I'm just stroking. I just stroke him the whole time, and he just sits here on my lap,
Uh-huh.
not worried about anything. I put my arm down. He puts his head on it. His head is cocked up. He makes the best of it. As long
Where's
as he's on
Scooties?
your lap, he just makes the best of it.
Is Scooty's not having any of this?
Scooty's is sitting on the couch away from us as he normally
Right.
does.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to be bothered as usual.
No, no. He wants to be in the vicinity, but he doesn't want to be sitting next to you.
Right.
Nothing within arm's reach.
Right. Close, but not too close. You're close enough.
When you sit down next to him, he then jumps off the couch and goes and sits in a bed someplace away
Other
from
than
you.
that, yeah. I like
Our-
Scooty's because he demands that people respect his personal space. I have the same issue. I
Yeah.
understand it.
I feel you. I feel you. All right, Bill. I don't know what I'm going to call the show. I feel like I want to call it "Build the Wall," but I feel like
That's fine. We can be politically charged. Why not?
I don't know. I just can't. I can't. All right. So, anything else to add here as we cue up
No?
the music to get out of here?
When is our scheduled next show? It would be on the 31st. Okay, so we will not have seen Shazam by then. Okay, just checking.
So, is that what it is? Is
The 31st.
Oh.
2 weeks.
I guess you're right. It looks like it, huh? Look at that. The 31st is a Sunday. So we still gotta. We're really pumping it out in March, then, huh?
Yeah, that's how we roll.
I don't know if we'll
Well,
have
we
enough
want to.
megabytes on our subscription. We may have to just kick that show over to April 1st. We have to drop that show on April 1st, no doubt.
Really?
All right, Bill. I'm gonna go. Tonight's gonna be Chipotle night. By the way, shout out to Chipotle. Please sign
What's
up
on,
to be
What's on your
rewards
viewing
member.
schedule?
What's that?
What are you watching?
Well, wait a second. I'm telling people to sign up for Chipotle for the rewards.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, for every dollar you spent, you get 10 points, and when you get to 1,250 points, you get a free entree.
And a case of botulism.
And that's why we don't have Chipotle as a sponsor. Tonight, I don't know what we'll be watching. I have no idea. Since we didn't finish the finale of Top Chef because the person my woman wanted to win didn't win, I spoiled it for her. So we're not going to watch it because she doesn't like the other two people.
Why did you spoil it?
Because I wanted to. We missed it, and I read ahead. So,
That's not cool.
well, it's probably better because she would have wanted to turn it off anyway when she found out that the one guy, her favorite chef, got kicked off. So,
Oh, really?
I don't know, Bill. We may start that Netflix show. I don't know. I don't have any direction. I have a couple movies in the queue. I have something called Box Locks.
And Two Smoking Barrels?
No, I said Vox Locks. Very funny. It stars Natalie Portman and Jude Law.
Okay. Never heard of it, but okay.
That's here in the house. It's got some sort of Black Swan vibe to it. And I got Free Solo. I feel like that won some sort of awards. It's a documentary about the rock climber.
Yeah, I always think about Han Solo whenever I hear that, or the Solo Cups,
Free Solo.
because I'm basic.
Free
Okay.
Solo. That's so sad. Solo's what killed that whole individual franchise right there. That's what I think of when I think of Solo.
For now, don't you discount Star Wars. It'll be back.
That's what Aaron Eichenreich got us right there. That's
Yeah, again with the mush mouth. Alden Ehrenreich. Ike and Mike. Mike and Ike's got that kill for us. Okay.
Oh. All right. Thank you for bringing the energy today. I was really off my game. I'm sorry.
You need
My
to like, pull it together.
my whole construction and dealing with putting nice things into place.
So are you going to call them tomorrow and bitch them out for your door mishap?
I am. I don't know if a bitch is going to be the word. I'm going to try to be firm, and hopefully, when I give the people the problem, that they sit there and go, "Sir, I am sorry for your inconvenience. Let's see what we can do." That's
Right.
what I'm hoping. That will be the best answer I can give. I'm like, "Thank you." When they sit there and say they don't, then I'm going to have to get superfan Carlos and superfan Neil on the case, and we may have to start suing some motherfuckers.
Really? You're going to sue? It cost you less just to buy a new door than to sue them?
Oh no, it's only cost like $65 to file a lawsuit. Small claims.
Small claims, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. That's how we're gonna roll, Bill. That's how we're gonna
All right.
roll.
You go, boy.
Yeah. But anyway, So moving on. What are you gonna watch tonight?
I think we're up for some more RuPaul and more Tyler Perry because the season finale is next week, so we want to be caught up by then so we can watch all the Black people show out.
Okay, that's excellent. I
So,
wish I had some other go-to show that I was looking forward to. I mean, Game of Thrones doesn't start till April. Avengers: Infinity War doesn't come till the end of April. I don't really have any like shows that I'm watching that, like I can't wait, like I'm craving to watch.
Game of
So
Thrones that's not Game of Thrones?
that's Game of Thrones, but that's not until April.
Yeah, but it's already mid-March, less than a month. I think it starts April 12th.
Yeah, but what I'm going to do for the next 2 weeks?
Oh, okay. Look forward to the next third.
Well, I would watch Netflix, but the problem sometimes with Netflix is that they have the shows on there that's subtitled. And sometimes, when you're cooking breakfast, you just want to have a show on in the background, but I can't just put their show on because it requires me to pay attention to what's being said. So that kicks out 3 or 4 shows in my queue. Whatever. I'm not going to go down this route again. I've been your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.